Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 661. It is the PlayStation 5 launch day, November 12th, 2020. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Tubing it.
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello.
And Christopher Davis.
You know, not to play into the stereotype, but the other console actually launched this week as well. Do you remember?
That is true. That is true. I don't mean
God, this podcast are Sony fanboys. Disgusting.
Well,
except for our producer, but
I mean, so Robin got an Xbox Series S. It was cool. It's nice. It runs very fast and everything, but there's no games.
What games does she have on it, Nick?
The same game she had.
What exclusives is she getting this year?
There's no games.
That's my point. So not to disparage the Xbox. It's impressive hardware, and I would love to play more of it. I just wish there was something new to play there that would get me excited. We're talking about PS5.
I know we'll talk about, but it's just funny that Microsoft was like, "We got to get this console out. We got to get it out, and it's so fast and it's so cool, and it plays old games real good." Yeah, and that's the thing. Is it plays your old games so good.
But hey, that is something. But we're not neither here nor there. We can talk about it if you want, Chris Davis. But it is kind of today is the PlayStation 5 release day, and while I haven't received mine yet, mine's coming tomorrow. Brad and Nolan and Chris Davis have received theirs, right?
Yes.
And I feel like that's probably a pretty good place to start. This is going to be very, very, very early impressions because we've only had a few hours tops, each of us, to.
I just want to say, I'm glad that I got mine, early enough in the day where I could kind of mess around with it. Nick, I remember when we were pre-ordering these consoles, you were like, I don't know, Walmart seems a little sketch.
No, I said I was skeptical of Walmart and Target, and Target is Target.
Wait, what's wrong with Target?
Dude, there's nothing wrong with Target, but I'm getting my PlayStation 5. I pre-ordered from Target, but it has been a bit of a clusterfuck for people who pre-ordered from Target, and I'm sure to a degree of people who ordered from Walmart. But until right now, if you go to my Target order page, it still says estimated delivery between tomorrow and Wednesday of next week, and there's no updated tracking information. The only reason I know it's shipped is because I was charged and because I got a FedEx notification saying it's on the way, and I'm tracking it that way. But Target has not given me correct information at all.
So I'm the exact opposite scenario. They didn't notify me until after I'd gotten it that it was shipped.
Wait, did you order from Target?
No, I ordered from Walmart. But They also haven't charged my card yet, so I don't want to challenge it.
Mine was no. I did Walmart. They did a hold, but they removed the hold. My console was on a truck en route to my house before they charged my account.
Well, no, here
and before they sent me an email.
Here's a question: did y'all use credit cards versus debit cards?
I use a credit card.
I mean, I'm serious.
What are we talking about?
Sorry, it's an interesting. Sorry, Chris. We're getting into the minutia here.
Well, to kind of get to your, I was worried I wasn't going to get mine today, Nick. They always claim they were sending it today.
Well, you got to give through Amazon, and Amazon is
correct, but
a tad more reliable.
I got your console has shipped notification at 5:20 today. And my console arrived at my house at 6:37.
Yeah.
But I guess they shipped it from fucking right down the street. But I was worried about that because the entire time I was like, I'm definitely not getting it today.
To be fair, this is a first in which a new piece of hardware is launching and going 100% online orders. There are no retail boxes being sold out of retail stores right now, unless of course you ordered online and are picking up from the store. You can't walk into a Best Buy and buy a PlayStation 5 off a shelf. Everything is being shipped online. So there's massive amounts of PlayStations being shipped right now. So in the defense of all these just hijinks and shit. Like that's why. But anyways, let's talk about the hardware itself. Brad's holding it up for the camera right now. Brad, what are your initial
I
thoughts?
have a very large head.
It's true, Brad does.
Yes, he does.
Brad's head for scale. It's like,
is that a PlayStation 5 or a fucking Gutenberg Bible?
Brad, I need you to tell me right now. What do you think? You've had it in your hands the longest. You've been playing it a little bit this afternoon. What do you think?
I mean,
you gotta give me more than that, Brad.
It's a video game console.
I will say Brad's shitty attitude. The DualSense controller is fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Nick just asked you how's the PlayStation, and you're like, yeah. And then I'm like, here's something good about it, and you're like, we'll get to it. We'll get to it right now, Brad. Let's fucking talk about.
Well,
come on, we gotta sell units, guys.
Where's the footage here?
I can't control that footage.
So, well, I was gonna explain my reaction.
Okay, what's your reaction?
Well, the thing is, even though I really haven't played that much on it, I played some Astrobot, I played some Bugsnax, and I played an old game or two, and that's pretty much it. As far as like some of the newer games that are out, I'm getting them from GameFly, and they have not arrived yet. So,
but like, I'm not even necessarily talking about games. We're of course
like
going to have
UI?
game. We're going to talk about games for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
Years, honestly. But we'll get to the games and stuff in the future. Like, you've had your hands on the console for 6 hours or whatever, and you had the physical unit in your house. We've talked about size. We've talked about UI. We've talked about speeds. We've talked about all this stuff.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, now, what do you think that you've actually played with it?
Well, Astrobot's cool because it does the thing that Nolan was alluding to, in that the controller is shiny and new, and it's sort of a tech demo for that new controller. And the controller's cool.
So I've heard a lot of discussion.
It's sort of like if we were in a room together, we'd be like that eye contact, and we would just know, man. We would just know. We were so good at this.
What are you talking about?
So the promise
talking about y'all talking over each other.
The promise of HD Rumble on the Switch was kind of a joke, right? Not a lot of games used it.
But Brad, you can rattle it and you can hear the ice cubes.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up. That was like a 1-2 Switch game, which 1-2 Switch was sort of the tech demo for the HD Rumble on the Switch. Correct. And I think this is sort of the equivalent of that, where it's the first party game from Sony that does the most to show off all the cool tech that the controller has, which there is a lot of really cool tech. I just don't know if how well other games use it. I hear some don't use it nearly as well. I heard one comparison that said it reminded them of it, like it was kind of annoying, and that reminded me of how some other games use HD Rumble, where it's just sort of a loud vibration that doesn't really do much.
I would say that I get it. Like, I could understand that maybe someone might be annoyed, in quotations, by it. I think it depends on how you use it. I think one thing that they kind of like reminded me of you saying that, Brad, was I want to say it was GTA 4. It might have been something else though. But that was whole with the DualShock 3, and like one of the first things you had to do was like, oh, you got to go across this thing and you got to like balance with the DualShock, and it like makes you do it.
Yeah, I always think about Uncharted 1 balancing on the logs.
Yeah, and it's like I don't want to fucking do this.
So it's funny you say that, because I think this controller may run into some of those same issues, where like Astrobot here is a really, really cool example of this tech, which first impressions are like pretty remarkable, especially like some of the crazy stuff that the trigger does, the triggers do, and just like the feeling of the vibrations. But is it going to get annoying, and are other developers even going to do much with it in the first place?
I think it depends on how it's used.
I have a question. Can someone articulate this for me better? Because I've heard a lot of talk about people saying kind of the step up for the console in as far as like visuals and stuff is kind of incremental, and like the biggest thing, like the most noticeable difference between last gen and this gen so far is this controller, and but what
Yeah.
is it about this controller that is so special?
The way it feels
So
in your
it
hand
does
and the
like it does
triggers.
feel a lot different. Like when you hold it compared, I mean, I just happen to have two here. When you hold it compared to the DualShock 3, it definitely feels different. And in my opinion,
You
it
mean
feels
4?
better. It feels, I would say, a little bit more like an Xbox One controller, which, don't get me wrong, I've always been a fan of Xbox controllers, besides the OG Xbox controller. But ever since the 360, I've been a fan of that style. And I think this one leans a little bit more towards that. If you look at like kind of the difference between the handles, it's a little bit longer and a little bit wider.
Is a little
And
bit
so I think
more stuff to grip.
it feels a little bit better in my hand. Like
Mhm.
I like the way like my hand grasps around it.
They
But in
also
that
put
regard,
more
Nick,
weight to it, and it feels like the weight is better distributed than the
I
PS4
think the
controller.
weight is just from the sheer fact of all the shit that's inside it.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that may be
all of the
part of
stuff
it.
that all the technology that makes up A, the larger battery, and B, the haptic feedback, different sensors and stuff they have in there.
Yeah,
Definitely give it more weight.
The game, and again, this is Astrobot's the good example. Like, there is a lot of different like rumble sensations you can have to where, like, depending on what's happening in the game, like whether you're walking on wood or walking on metal or tiptoeing through water, or there's wind blowing at you, it feels different in your hand. So like
Okay,
like
so
this feels like the actual realization of what Nintendo was trying to do with HD Rumble. This feels like fucking HD Rumble realized, and that's cool in Astrobot. The other thing is the triggers, which are fucking remarkable and scary, because there's mechanisms inside the controller that can add resistance to the pulls on the triggers, and different kinds of resistance.
Nick, if you're looking at this, like, there's no resistance.
Yeah, you
Right.
pause,
But when
no
you're in the
resistance.
game, holy shit, the way they adapt it based on what you're doing is pretty astounding. And
see, that's exciting. That
It
sounds
is
really cool.
exciting. It's exciting.
It also seems like one of those. It's definitely one of those things you kind of have to feel to
You have to feel
truly
it.
understand.
And let me tell you, in this level here in Astrobot, or like later on, you get to this thing where you're like you jump into a spring suit, and you tilt the controller to kind of move your spring, and you depress the triggers and release them to like spring forward, right? And I don't think it's just the triggers and the rumble. I think the sound has something to do with it too. The PS4 did a little bit of this, but I feel like this is sort of taking it a step further in the amount of
I would
sound
say
that's
that
coming out of the controller.
the speaker on the controller is way better than the PS4s, the DualShock 4s.
Exactly. So when you're this spring guy and you tilt the controller, you're feeling a spring turn. You're hearing the spring turn. And when you depress the triggers, it feels like a spring depressing and letting go. It's insane. Like, I've never felt anything in a game that was so that was this complete uh audio visual, like all of my senses felt this fucking spring man, and I've never seen that in a video game.
That's cool. I'm really excited
Did a very good job of capturing the essence of, as if you were actually modifying a spring in your hands. And in similar, Brad, like the level I did, because I didn't do this level, I did one where you're in like a mech suit, and so you're like launching the rockets and stuff like that, and each trigger controls one of the rockets and stuff. And that was a big part of it. And yeah, I think it does an extremely good job of Astrobot of showing off the potentials for what the DualSense controller can do. Now, that being said, you had mentioned that other games maybe don't make as much use of it. I think either A, that was because they probably didn't have enough time. I don't think you can, in 5 minutes, develop a system that will be like, oh, and this is how we can do this and this and this.
Yeah, but I feel like a launch game is more actually willing to do that stuff. I feel like later on, you're probably they'd be even less likely to mess with this shit. But like think about the touchpad on the PS4, which is really cool, right? Different swiping different directions, pressing different sides can do something things. A lot of developers just sort of gave up on that and just sort of stopped doing that after a while, which was really frustrating, especially because they still have it on this controller.
Well, so I'll say a couple things about that, Brad. I think first off, this one, the touchpad does seem a lot more sensitive in this one than it did on the DualShock 4. I was able to draw a very crude picture, and Bernadette figured out what it was.
Was it a dick butt?
It was.
To be expected.
But and so it's one of those things where I think the technology is increased. Now, is every developer going to use the DualSense to its maximum capability? No, and they don't have to, and I don't think they should. I think Astrobot actually takes the functionality of the DualSense a little too far, but I think that is just because they're trying to show off everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the same way that
Mhm.
the original Astrobot was used to demonstrate VR, and this is very much designed to demonstrate.
Astro's
been around for a long time.
Sorry.
To kind of show
I was referring
off
to Rescue
tech.
Mission. Astrobot.
Rescue
Astrobot
Mission is the original Astrobot game was meant to show off DualShock 4 and like the whole light and all this stuff and the touchpad and whatever. So yeah, Astrobot is like PlayStation's new kind of like, oh, let's show off this technology.
2 questions. Since y'all have played a little bit of Astrobot so far, and obviously we'll play more and we'll talk about it more in depth probably on a future show. But one, do you feel any sense of disappointment not playing this in VR? Because Rescue Mission was such an amazing game.
You're right. It was, and it's not remarkable in that same way, but it's going for something different. This is a tech demo that's showing off the controller, and you might look at that footage of me doing the spring shit, and it honestly looks kind of boring and basic. And if it was in any other game, it would be boring and basic if it wasn't doing the stuff that the controller was doing. And I think much like Astrobot in VR, where if it wasn't in VR, it probably wouldn't be a very remarkable platformer. It has a similar wow factor, just in a different way. And this isn't a full game, so that might be like a little disappointing.
So that was my second question. Do you not think this, because like we all put like Rescue Mission on our top 10 of the games of the year that year.
But that was a full game. This is thing's only a few hours long, and it's more of a tech demo. But let me tell you, there is stuff going on in this game that I was not expecting, and that there's a lot of PlayStation nostalgia.
So yeah, that's the thing I was going to bring up, Brad, and I think that's the thing.
Great.
Not only are they showing off the capabilities of the DualSense, they are definitely fucking grabbing at people's PlayStation nostalgia heartstrings, because the secrets in this game are just like shit tons of like retro PlayStation stuff.
It's a treasure chest full of PlayStation game references and shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that stuff has been pretty great and charming. Which we're no longer in the Astrobot footage. I could have pointed out some of that stuff, but I mean, basically, if you it's free. If you bought a PS5, you're gonna have this. You don't even have to have PlayStation Plus, and it's great.
You don't even have to download it.
Definitely play it. I know you're going to want to play Demon Souls or Miles Morales right away, and that's fine. But if you really want to see why everyone's talking about that controller, play a little bit of Astrobot first.
I fully intend to. So let's talk a little bit about like non-software related. I mean, unless you want to say something, I'm assuming we're going to talk more about Bugsnax on a future show.
Sure.
Do y'all want to say anything about Bugsnax right now?
I haven't played that much.
There's footage rolling.
I haven't played that much. It's kind of like, Pokemon Snap-ish, except you're like, kid. This game's fucking weird, dude. You're right. We'll talk about this on a future episode, but I've heard people like mention it before, but there's some like Cronenbergian body horror stuff going on here, because they eat these Bugsnax, and then you're about to see what this shit happen. He eats a shish kebab, a shish kebab, and now his leg is like a shish kebab. And he seems like cool with it, but they don't really talk about it. It's just their limbs just start turning into food, and they're like, "Oh man, I love my fucking Bugsnax."
You are whatever you eat, Brad.
It's just their reality, Brad. It's just their reality.
It's disturbing.
Everyone's
and I hear that this game goes places by the end, and I'm curious to see where.
I am 100% more interested in playing Bugsnax after the shish kebab thing that you just demonstrated on the screen. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about the hardware, like just UI and the system itself. Unless there's anything else.
I haven't really fucked around a lot with it, because I was playing games, but. What do you want to know?
I mean, anything you want to talk about, really. What I'm trying to get out of you, Brad, is what do you think? What jumps to mind is like the most worthwhile thing to talk about after spending the first like 5 or 6 hours with?
The controller, the stuff we already talked about. Beyond that, the UI is still it's new, so I'm still trying to figure it all out. It seems like it does a lot of the things the PlayStation 4 did. It's just kind of reorganized. I was able to like get screenshots, record footage. That was pretty easy. The one nitpick I have is you can't hold down the home button to immediately turn off the system.
I would say that like this button, this PlayStation button, is a little bit different from the original. The original one was, just this circle.
I wish it was a circle. I like the circle.
This is a little more.
It's like, where is it?
Oops, I accidentally just turned on my PS5. It's a little less. Yeah, it's harder to find. And so I wish it was a little bit bigger of a button, just so it's easier to hit.
Yeah.
The other difference here is that you really have to hold it if you want to get out of the game, because if you just tap it even for like a second, it doesn't take you out of the game. It just takes you to that pop-up menu that's like kind of information about the game you're playing and stuff like that. You really got to hold it for a little bit to get out of it.
There's just a split second of a delay too when I press that, to where I've been double pressing it accidentally, and I thought it was it's not sluggish or anything. It's just not as instant as I thought it would be. So it's leading to some errors, but I think this is just, new UI. I'm going to have to get used to it. There's some things I don't, that the system isn't really telling me. So it made me confused. Like, I turned on Neo 2. I got all the way to continue, and I was going to load my save to play a little 60 FPS Neo 2. And it was like, oh, it's still downloading something. I can't load my game. And it's like, on the PS4, when you do that, you see the download bar before you go into the game, and you know that that's happening. I didn't know that was happening, so I thought I was just going to be a
download bar when I went to go to the game. That was still down.
Well, again, I mean, it showed me nothing there. I just tried to boot it up, and while I'm playing something else, it tells me that it finishes.
I've not done a PS4 game, so that's different, obviously. So I'm not sure about that.
It's going to get a little weird when all of a sudden you can start upgrading these games. Because, for example, I have Sackboy coming from Gamefly, right? I wanted to try it out. I thought maybe Henry, it's co-op. I could play with Malia and Henry. But Gamefly is only sending out PS4 discs for games that have free upgrades, because why buy the PS5 games that probably cost more directly from Sony? So they're like, well, we'll just send out the PS4 disc because it's free upgrades to the PS5 version, right? But I'm glad that they're doing that, because I only have one PS5 controller, and if I can play a PS4 game on my PS5 with a PS4 controller, but if I do the free upgrade to the PS5, all of a sudden those PS4 controllers don't work, and I can't do co-op because I only have one PS5 controller. Like two versions can sit on your hard drive at once, I think. I'm pretty sure I can only do co-op with the PS4 version, which is strange.
That's weird.
Because I can use the PS5 controller in the PS4 version of the game with other PS4 controllers, if and only if it's the PS4 version of the game, which is strange. But that is how I'm going to have to play it. I can't play the PS5 version if I want to do co-op.
Well, that's a bummer.
Let's not buy another controller. Let me tell you, the controllers are, what, 70?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I remember when, by the way, it's a heavy controller. When the Switch Pro controller came out, they were like, this thing is $70, not $60, because of HD Rumble and the other stuff that's in here. And I was like, this is bullshit. And then I bought one. I'm like, this is bullshit. This shit should not cost more. This thing being $70, I mean, this thing, sense. It makes sense. Once you feel what the triggers are doing, you're like, okay, there's got to be some expensive shit in here, because this seems expensive. It also seems like it could break. With like years and years of use, maybe, or
I am interested in the gears or whatever they use for the adaptive triggers, how those work, and how maybe they could over time become less resistant or whatever. But what I wanted to say, Brad, is in regard to the Wii U Pro controller, that is still the best fucking controller. I understand
the Wii U one. I was talking about the Switch one was.
The Switch one. Okay, never mind. Well, because I was saying just the Wii U one, just the fucking battery life on that thing is goddamn phenomenal. Like a conservative 60 to 70 hours of battery life.
But again, that's all,
like several games in the time you're using that controller versus this one. And I haven't tested it yet, but I hear it's like 7 to 10 hours.
But does that not,
unless if you're playing Astrobot?
But does that also make a little more sense knowing everything going on in the controller?
Yeah.
No. It does. That
sort of.
And that is my kind of question. If I'm playing Spider-Man Miles Morales and there's none of the fancy shit going on, is the battery going to last longer? Probably, because it doesn't have to do as much.
Right. Okay. Well, unless there's anything else.
No, there's one more thing I gotta say. As far as like the UI and stuff, like here I'm actually like scrolling through the store, and I was like, let's watch a trailer for Ghostwire Tokyo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The store, I don't like it because you know, when you go on the PS4, when you press down on a game and it shows a bunch of information, if you keep going down, there might be like DLC or other recommendations based on this game.
Right.
And their entire screen, giant tiles. The whole store is like that now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's just not. It's just I think it's bad store UI.
So first question, Brad, how often are you in the PlayStation Store UI?
Whatever. I mean, I'm not. Look, I'm just saying. I think it sucks.
I'm complaining.
How much are they paying you, Nolan? How much are they paying you?
I mean, I don't like a lot of
you corporate shill.
I mean, it sucks on the Switch. It sucked on the PS4, honestly. I mean, yeah. But here it's like they sort of doubled down on that that whole UI they were doing on the PS4 when you press.
I don't know. I mean, just my 2 cents, just purely based on what I'm watching on your footage here. I kind of like it.
Sure. But I mean, I think with it, you'll see.
I mean, you're right. I do need to spend some time. I do need to spend some time with it. I mean, I think it does come down to, again, there's a lot of information they want to convey, and it's kind of like how do you convey that much information without putting it all on the screen at once and making it a clusterfuck. So I don't know.
Look, I dump on a lot of these UIs. Fucking Hulu, man, fuck Hulu. What the fuck were they thinking with that shit? You know, Disney Plus. I mean, they all suck. Why is this so hard? It's because they're advertising stuff at the same time, and that's why they suck.
Is they're trying to show off stuff. And if you know Netflix, when you used to go to Netflix, the first thing on there is your list. Now it fucking takes me 5 minutes to find my list on Netflix. I'm like, where the fuck are the shows I want to watch?
Yeah,
like
everything has gotten pretty bad.
We want to watch this, and we think you want to watch this, and we think you want to watch this, and it's like, no, I want to watch the shows I already fucking added to my list. But they show you that other shit first because it hits your eye first, and you're more likely to click on something. If it shows you what you're already looking for when you get there, you're not going to see the other shit. So of course, they're all they're trying to do, Brad. Thousands and thousands of man hours have gone into designing this store, not to make it convenient, but to make it sell games.
Sure. I someone in chat said it looks kind of Netflixy. Let me tell you, I have problems with Netflix, but at least everything is like the same size and smaller, and you can see multiple bars on the screen. The PlayStation thing is like, you'll be in the store and you'll see one giant fucking square and one rectangle, and you better start pressing buttons because that's all you're going to get on your fucking screen at that given moment. And that seems crazy to me. They do a lot of that stuff. I don't get it.
Well, we'll dive deeper into the PlayStation 5 next week when we've all had a chance to spend a healthy amount of time with it.
I forgot how to play Neo 2, by the way.
We'll also talk about our impressions of, you know, some of the launch games. I'm not sure what everybody here is planning on playing first on this Brad, are you going Demon Souls? What's your plan?
Well, no, I mean, I'm gonna probably play Yakuza, honestly, which we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that here in a second.
But I haven't decided. I'm getting an Assassin's Creed and Miles, and I'm not. Demon Souls got delayed on GameFly for some reason, so
I will say this: I'm going Miles Morales first, not only because I love Spider-Man and I'm ready as hell to play this, but it's a shorter game, and it's of the 3 games that I got for launch, it is the shortest, and it seems like the best move to get through that as quickly as possible. Nolan, what's your plan? I just want to kind of go around and just get lay the land here before we move on.
My plan is to play a few worlds of Astrobot, probably check out Bugsnax, and then I'm gonna do Miles Morales as well. Cool. I got Valhalla only because it was on sale on Amazon the other day for $40. Yeah, and then you could upgrade that to the PS5 version. Yeah, and
it was on sale. The PS5 version was on sale for $50. So I just went ahead and got the PS5 version because there's only
I got the PS4 just because there's a free upgrade. Yeah. So whatever. I mean, that works. Yeah. But it's not going to come in for another week or two, which is kind of a good thing. So I can focus on other games. But yeah, Demon Souls at some point. But as of right now, I have way too many fucking games to play.
Chris Davis, what's going to be your first voyage on this thing?
So hopefully if my all my games transfer over tonight, Demon Souls will be installed, so that'll be my first one.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll talk about all of those on future shows. But now, Nolan, like Brad mentioned, you've been playing. I think you're the only one here that's played it so far. But Yakuza Like a Dragon, right?
Yup. Well, I have played an extensive demo of this, so
okay.
I'm quite familiar.
Yes, I remember now the lobster story.
Yeah.
Right. That was okay. So Nolan, what's your experience with Yakuza so far?
So I have played a little over 6 hours of Yakuza, Like a Dragon, which means I am just outside of the tutorial. I mean, honestly, dude, like when I went to capture footage of this game, this footage you're seeing, this is around 4.5 hours into the game because I was waiting for the story to finish.
Yeah.
So I could start doing not story, because this is super story like front loaded, which I mean, it's a Yakuza game, so that's how it is. But I didn't want to like just have footage, just a bunch of spoilers for the story, so I was waiting. It's real fucking good. I was kind of interested to see how these new characters would be. You know, you're not with Kiryu, and you're not with what's his face?
Majima?
Yeah.
Which is a first for the series and for a while, right? I mean, most of the like 0 and 6,
everything's kind of followed the same people to an extent, for the most part. But this is like new characters, and so far, Ichiban is the main character. He's fucking great. I like his personality. I like the story so far, where it's going. What's up, bro?
He loves Dragon Quest.
He does. He is a big fan of Dragon Quest.
Wow.
He wants to level up his game and his life, and move to the next level.
Which is funny because this is a Sega game, right?
Correct.
But like the usually you would expect them when they throw in like Easter eggs for like other games and whatnot, it's like from the same. But he specifically references Dragon Quest.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's
and there's a conversation that he has with another character, and he's like, man, I just want, my life isn't going the way I wanted to, and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, you know what, in Dragon Quest, you just sometimes got to beat those low level slimes until you level up, and blah blah blah. Like, they're talking about Dragon Quest.
Nice.
But so the one thing that kind of honestly excited me about this game is, in people can poo-poo on me if they want, my least favorite part of most Yakuza games is the combat. That was kind of always my least favorite part of those games. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but just because I never felt like I was doing that good at it. I always felt like there was too many things to remember, and too many moves, and too many combinations and things. This is literally just like a fucking RPG. It's just, hey, I want to attack, and I want to do this attack and go. And hey, I want to attack, and I want to use this like defense, or hey, I want to use this item, and you just fucking do it. And so it's almost taken like a little bit of pressure off of me.
Yeah, you know, my first thought, I was, as soon as like you entered into this battle in this fight here, and it like brought up the UI for like everything, my first thought was Persona 5.
Persona 5? Yeah, dude, it reminds me of Persona 5.
So Persona 5, which is fine. I mean, I think that the UI in that game is pretty standout. So that's great. I wasn't expecting it from this game.
In Yakuza games, you joked about the tutorial, but it takes a long time for them to kind of roll out everything. Have they rolled out the ability to not block attacks, but to time button presses to where you can reduce
you
damage?
Get that from the very beginning. It's hard. You'll notice me do it. I do it a little bit in the footage. If you look, whenever I get attacked, I promise you, I'm always trying to get a perfect guard, is what it's referred to as. But the timing is pretty difficult on it. There's a tutorial in the game that shows that you can go to in your phone that's teaching you about combat and stuff. And one of them is perfect guards, and it says press B at the right time to block an attack. I don't fucking know when the right time is. Like, it doesn't really do a good job of explaining to you when it is. Do I need to do it when the guy's winding up? Do I need to do it like literally like a fraction of a second before he hits? Like, I don't know. And I've tried to get the timing down. And I think, I can't remember who it was, but it might have been like Vangam or Prince or someone in Discord the other day was talking about that. That's like, I don't really understand when to do the blocks. I haven't gotten that down yet. But it does guard it.
Doing it in the demo.
It guards a decent amount of damage, so to doing it well. So Vangam in chat says right on contact. So I'll start trying that the next time I play. But in regards to combat, it is fun. It is still Yakuza. So there are certain times like if you don't really control your character. So if you ever see me like the character moving, I'm not doing that. They kind of move around kind of randomly on their own during combat. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like Chrono Trigger or Grandia.
Yeah,
where
depending on where you are or where the enemy is, when you attack them, sometimes you'll interact with the environment. So sometimes you'll pick up cones or pick up bicycles or kick something. If there's something in between you and the enemy, usually he'll kick it at them or something like that. But that works the other way as well. If you try to attack an enemy who's behind another enemy, that first enemy will attack you first. So you really have to be careful about your positioning in combat and who you're deciding to attack, because sometimes it might be advantageous to, hey, how about we take out one character first instead of focusing on random ones, because obviously if there's one less person, there's one less person attacking you. But you can't always get that because their positioning doesn't work that way.
I feel like it would have been a lot more satisfying if you could move around. Maybe there'd be like a penalty to it or something, but it would be nice to have some direct control because you could line up some cool stuff.
Yeah,
but I mean, based on what I've heard so far, and especially like talking about the Dragon Quest thing again, like it seems like someone high up at this studio like is trying to like pay homage to like traditional.
Oh no, it definitely is. Like anytime it is definitely it's funny because if you're just looking at the game randomly, some random footage, not combat wise, it just looks like a Yakuza game. But then anytime like here's me getting up to like a save point and like a health regen station, when a character joins or leaves your party, there's like a pop-up with like music, like blah blah blah, joined your party and stuff like that. Like it is like RPG through and through. Like certain times when you gain abilities or level up, you get like the music and stuff like that. Like it is very much an RPG. And I fucking love that. I love that it's an RPG in a Yakuza world.
And you eventually unlock the job class system.
I haven't gotten there yet. I think I might have just actually unlocked it when I was turning off the game, and that's kind of one of the problems with the Yakuza game is you don't like so often you can't just stop because it's like as soon as a cutscene ends, it moves on to another cutscene in another area, and you can't pause it because if you pause it, your options are to unpause or skip this cutscene. And it's like, well, I want to fucking turn it off. And so last night when I had saved at the end of a chapter, I think I either just started chapter 4 or I just started chapter 5. I want to say I started chapter 4. As soon as it ended, like it went on to the next cutscene. So I was like, well, I want to like turn this off properly. I didn't want to just like kill the game because it's not like a PlayStation. I'm playing this on PC. So I either alt for the game or I wait until I have control and I exit to the menu, which is what I typically would do. And so to get me to exit to the menu, I had to skip through like 5 or 6 cutscenes. And I think during that process, I unlocked the job class system, but I just didn't save. So the next time I boot it up, I'll load that previous save. So I think I just unlocked the job classes.
At the point in the game you're in right now, have you even reached the point where you can kind of like freely explore the city?
Oh yeah, there's I think I want to say in chapter 2 it opens up a little bit, and then chapter 3 you have a little more opportunity. But it's kind of one of those things where there's just not that much to do in the world yet. You can kind of start exploring, but it's like you kind of almost want to keep doing the story. So you, like Brad said, so you can start unlocking the job class system and start doing other things because, like as you saw, like Ichiwan is a brawler, I think. I can't remember the name of his class, but I'm leveling up that job. And so the more I play, I think, obviously I'll unlock other job classes so I can spend time, focusing on other things. So I've kind of been to an extent beelining the story until the world opens up a little more.
So Gigamir Cat wants to know if there are random encounters in the streets.
Not random like an old school RPG. It is very much like a Yakuza game where you will see thugs. And if you get close enough, they'll kind of start to notice you and like they'll have a question mark over their head. They're like, hey, what's that over there? And if you either don't move away or you get closer, then combat will encounter. Just like a typical Yakuza game, that's where combat's happening. As soon as combat's over, you just are no longer locked to that area.
The only thing that stinks is that with Yakuza 6, that's when they finally introduced like no barrier combat. So even if you were in a fight, you could just run all the way down the fucking street and keep going where you wanted to go, And now it's sort of back to the more older Yakuza games where you're kind of you're locked into a space. You can escape battles, but you can't You can't like run from.
You can't just
physically run from battles.
You can't physically run away from them. Yeah.
So I just something popped into my head. But even if you couldn't move yourself around battle, directly, it would be cool if you could like swap to the character you wanted to use, something to give you some more tactical control over the flow. As it is now, it's kind of like Chrono Trigger. You just kind of gotta go with the flow, and sometimes the timing is right where enemies are in a position you like to where you could do a move that might hit multiple or whatever, and that's fine. I mean, like Nolan was saying, I agree with him. I think one of the weaknesses of the series before has been the combat system. It's always been like fun to look at, like cool heat moves, but never actually all that deep or rewarding to play.
It's not much more than a side-scrolling brawler at times.
Yeah, which is sort of I think what it was going for, but I can't fucking wait to play. One other thing that's cool about this one is this is the first Yakuza game where you have like a party of characters that are with you at all times. So there's banter between you and the other characters in the game. And
so randomly when you're exploring the world, similar to like a Dragon Age, like a thing will pop up and they'll just having like a conversation about something that either just happened or whatever. It's only happened to me twice so far, I think. But I am interested because I've only had 2 characters I've played with besides Ichiban, and so I am interested to kind of see how that works out in the world.
Also like Judgment, this is fully in English now.
Yep.
I know I ask this every time we talk about a Yakuza game, which we talk about Yakuza a lot on this podcast. Would this be a good one to start with?
I think, okay. So here's the thing. It is a whole new cast of characters, which is good because you don't have all that baggage.
And that's honestly like one of the biggest deterrents for me.
But the problem is this one is, you might have some issues with a lot of the RPG elements in the game. Like I heard later on, you have to do something like a Dragon Quest game. You're going to get to a boss that you just can't beat, and you're going to have to grind a little bit, which is not something that happens in another Yakuza game.
I've never.
So it's a good place to start, but there might be elements that would turn you off. That Yakuza Zero. The answer is Yakuza Zero, Nick. It's always been Yakuza Zero. We always tell you Yakuza Zero.
I'll agree with Brad on that, or on Nick. If you're trying to get into the Yakuza series, definitely start with Zero. If you just want to play a good game, I wouldn't. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I've only played 6 hours of this so far. This is definitely a good game.
Yeah,
but I would not go into this one looking to get into a Yakuza game.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I know Brad likes to joke about me not liking Japanese games, which is not at all factual.
No,
actually, that's more
the 8 hours of each one that you play.
I mean, Chris Davis, you just finished playing 13 Sentinels. Like you sometimes play like some really obscure Japanese games, and I do have a history of it playing and really enjoying Japanese RPGs, which is why I was wondering if maybe the RPG elements in this game might speak to me more than the traditional Yakuza game. But again, I do know Zero is a
Yakuza game. This is the longest Yakuza game. Yakuza Zero is not short by any means either. So
I'd say that game's easily like 40 hours.
Also, this one's a lot more like goofy in a good way. In my opinion, a good way. But the character's less serious.
Yes. So Kiryu was always kind of like a serious guy, but he was just the part of the comedy around him was that he was always a big serious guy in an awkward situation, and he didn't understand things and blah blah blah. Whereas Ichiban is much more like just like a kind of a goofy guy.
Like he's supposedly like a himbo.
Here's the best example I could give in terms of the Yakuza universe. Yakuza 2 or Kiwami 2 has a side quest where you meet like the guys who like to wear diapers and have a lady like treat them as babies or whatever, and you do that side quest in Yakuza 2, and Kiryu the whole time is like, man, this shit is fucking weird, but he just goes along with it, right? But in this one, you meet those guys again, and he's like, yeah, give me some of that milk, and he's like drinking the formula along with them and shit. Kiryu would never do that.
Yeah. But I think it kind of it's just formula. Because
the woman's breast milk, probably.
Correct. Yes, I think it's just because of their how they were brought up, and their kind of backstories are very different for each of these characters, and I think that kind of is what ties into that. And so far, like I said, I've only met like a total of 3 characters, but so far they've all been a little bit interesting. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not that far. I'm definitely going to be playing more, but the RPG elements I have been enjoying. Like, yeah, I understand that I'm probably gonna have to grind some later. When I get to maybe the later sections, I have heard that, but like Venga mentioned, and I have read somewhere else online, that ensuring that you bring like items, like treat it like an RPG. Do not treat it like a brawler. Like make sure you're bringing items, make sure you're using items and stuff like that, and that'll make combat a lot easier, especially when it gets more difficult. Up until this time, I hadn't really been using that many like items or anything like that. But in actually the next combat I go into, like I open like after this, so it'll be in like I don't know, like 30 seconds or something. I open combat by using a grenade. That's how I start combat. I literally just pull the pin on a grenade and chunk it at the guy.
There we go.
Because it's a fucking JRPG. You can do that. And I think it's one of those things where I'm sure I will start unlocking more things. Like I've not unlocked any weapons. You can get weapons in this game. You know, you have like headwear and clothing and footwear and shit like that, and accessories like any RPG that like give you different benefits and stuff, and different weapons that are exclusive to certain classes. I think there's like a mini game where you can, because you kind of become like a homeless person, and so one of your ways of earning money is collecting cans, like soda cans.
Yeah.
And there's this whole really fucking fun mini game around that. I've actually played it like 3 or 4 times. Where you collect cans, and then you can turn those cans in for items or like weapons and stuff like that, and outfits. And I ended up like upgrading like a new piece of headgear. And one of them, I think it was like almost like a guitar or something, but I couldn't use it because it wasn't for my class. And so I didn't end up getting it. But I am interested to see like how some of the job class systems and stuff change later on.
Yeah. And in the demo, I'm pretty sure I went from like a baseball bat to a giant personal massager.
Nice, very nice.
As his weapon,
giant,
so, yeah.
A giant personal massager.
Well,
yeah, why not? Yeah. What's up, Chris?
Two questions I have. The first one, is this Kamurocho again?
So you start the game in Kamurocho, but then I think maybe in chapter 3 you leave Kamurocho due to story reasons, and you're in a new area. I forget what it's called. It starts with a Y. But you're in like a completely new area, so you do start in Kamurocho, and I'm sure probably at some point you'll go back, maybe Yokohama. Thank you, Jay Hit. I believe that's where a majority of the game takes place, in Yokohama.
Okay, so with these, because with the more recent Yakuza games, the idea of the combat was that it wasn't going into a separate arena to actually brawl. It's actually happening in the main map. Does it feel like with the expanded like RPG focus that the map feels bigger, like it's bigger streets, bigger areas to explore?
I would say that the area, from what I've explored, definitely seems larger. I don't think I have access to the whole thing yet. I think just because I'm early on, it's limiting me to certain areas, but it does seem like it's a lot bigger than
the city's definitely the city's definitely bigger than Kamurocho. For sure.
Kamurocho, thank you.
Because one of my main problems with Yakuza 6 was the fact that the map, it was just so claustrophobic. Like, I understand the concept of Kamurocho and what that area is supposed to be. It's kind of claustrophobic because of the area, but I just did not like the fact that 30 hours in, the map had not changed at all. It was still so
funny,
small.
Because imagine being on that same map for a decade.
Yeah, however many games.
You played one Yakuza game, and you're like, Kamurocho, fuck this place.
Like that's.
But
that's
I mean, you're not wrong.
Me,
it's just funny because you're always in Kamurocho. Well,
but yeah, I'm.
There's other
all that being
too.
said, I'm excited to keep playing more. Unfortunately, what's it called? PlayStation 5 just came out with like 6 games that I could be playing too, and it sucks that, just like I said, why couldn't Yakuza have launched like a week ago? I could have like played so much more of it. Like, it just sucks that it came out literally 2 days.
If only you had an Xbox One, an
bastards.
Xbox One X, where they for some reason paid for exclusivity, next gen exclusivity for you. Is that not weird? That Microsoft said, you know what series we should go after? The Yakuza series, even though these games were never generally associated with Microsoft, and people who probably love Yakuza probably love Japanese things like PlayStation and Japan and not Xbox.
Yep.
Let's go at an exclusive. Let's go after an exclusivity deal for you. It's just weird. It's weird. Why did they
Yeah.
do that?
Because Phil
The
Spencer
world
wants
may
to
never
buy
know.
Sega one day.
But I'm saying, like, the person who wants to play Yakuza 7
because
is
it's not
not going to buy an Xbox to play the
I mean,
next
the
gen
only way to
version,
It's not
change the
about-
perception
it's not about the customers they have now. It's about the customers they want
They
to
want.
get.
and
Mhm.
and they for
there's only
two
one
decades
way.
they've learned that they will never get them.
There's only one way to change the perception, and that's to start changing the perception. So
They've tried
it's
for
weird.
20
It's
years.
weird, and it may not work, but they're trying. All right, let's move on.
Real quick before we
Oh.
do, Vangam brought up a good point that actually happened to me once last night. In that I think I do have access to a larger portion of the area, but the game is not like Skyrim. It's not like enemies are the level with you; like they are whatever level they are at like a traditional RPG. So I went
Right.
into an area, and I guess I was kind of like skirting around to kind of explore a little bit. And I'm level like I can't remember, like 7 or something like that. And I ran into level like 14 enemies, and holy fuck, they
Oh, that's
like
so weird.
demolished me.
So that's
Like-
something that's very new for Yakuza.
Oh yeah,
which-
very much so. That like I ran into enemies that like each hit was like over half my health. Like, and so I just fucking like the guy I was with ended up Namba ended up getting fucking knocked out and dead, and so I just ran away. I was like, fuck that shit. Because yeah, definitely they don't sugarcoat it or kind of just let you do whatever you want. So yeah.
Old school RPG.
Yep.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk to Crispy for a second about. I know Crispy's been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which we briefly mentioned a few weeks ago. We didn't really have footage to look at or anything like that, but I played some Ghost of Tsushima Legends today for the first time with Villasaurus Rex in chat or in Discord. But I know Crispy's been playing a ton of it, so I just kind of wanted to familiarize myself with it and see if it's something I want to sink more time into, which I honestly think I do. But Crispy, what's been going on with you in Legends?
Well, what do you think about
Well,
it?
first of all, the footage that I captured today was from after Villasaurus and I had played two main story mission or two of the story missions. So I really was still kind of trying to wrap my head around what this mode actually is, or how it feels, or how it just distinguishes itself from the main game. And it's pretty cool. It's I really like how they leaned into this like supernatural element and kind of changed the look and feel of the environments, and like made everything just kind of like they weren't kind of shackled by history or realism, which is nice. So that they lean into like lore and supernatural stuff, and like all these environments are like super creepy, and like they have all these different like the sky is red and there's like these floating hearts and just like
Yeah.
floating land masses and stuff. It's cool, and
And
it's a
as
very
you go
nice way of
on,
just
Yeah, there's like levels where you're fighting ghosts that you can't see until
Mhm.
like, but there's like lightning flashes that'll illuminate them momentarily.
Oh,
You're
that's
fighting
cool.
like you're fighting demons and oni and things like that. So the enemies are really cool, and some of them are really annoying. But let me ask you, Nick, did you notice a material difference between your like preferred style of play in this versus in the single player mode? Like, were you, because you were playing the story missions with Villasaurus, right? So you were playing the 2-player like actual story content missions.
correct.
Did you feel like you were playing that like you did the single player?
Well, since this is class based, they've done what is essentially like taken a singular character you play as in the single game and spread it out into like 4 different classes, instead of, in the main game it's kind of like you can kind of naturally gravitate towards any one of those classes in the main game, but now it's kind of like these are the 4 classes, you choose one, you focus on that, and they have this access to these abilities, and that they may only get I know when you get certain weapons, those weapons might be restricted to a certain stance. So instead of switching between like moon stance and it might be
Yeah.
you have to use this particular stance. So it kind of forces you to play a certain way, I guess. So
Well,
it's a
I
li-
mean that, like, yeah, it kind of does, and that's one thing that I've been bumping up against with this game a lot. Is that it's weird in that what am I trying to say? So there's 4 different classes, like you were saying. It's like the different pillars of play of Jin kind of spread
Yeah.
out across 4 different characters. I don't think that the difference between those classes is like really
That
all
different?
that. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like they each basically have a different super move that they can do, if you will.
Yeah.
Like one of them is really good at just like healing downed allies from a distance. One of them is, and as you play the game a bit more, especially where you're at right now, there's like virtually no difference between the classes. As you play a bit more and you start unlocking talents on the talent tree, like things do kind of like you can kind of start constructing builds and like getting different like feels. It's so much more. Yeah, I guess like you were saying, it's so much more like trying to be this like rigid class system that separates like the ways you play. But I feel like that putting these characters together in a game kind of emphasizes certain play types over others. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like in the 2-player mode, you get a lot of stealth. Like you do a lot of stealth in the 2-player mode, or you can. Like that's kind of the preferred method for breaking through a lot of these missions, especially later on and when you're playing like higher levels like silver and gold. Like stealth is kind of important because if you pull aggro, like you're definitely gonna die. I've kind of split my time between that and like the survival mode, and the survival mode at this point almost feels like a completely different game to me.
Like
Is that because you're playing at a higher level, or is that?
No, I mean even from the beginning, like from the first survival mode mission I played, and I played one survival game with a few of my friends and like a rando, and then I
Yeah.
played some story missions with my other friend, and I was like, this is so fucking weird that like I really like the story mission and I really fucking hate survival. Like and that's all the game is. Like it's
Yeah.
just like these like 4 or 5 survival maps and these 4 or 5 story missions. And it's like half the game I'm really into, the other half of the game I'm really not into. And the only thing that I think is really like super different between them is the number of players involved. And
Right.
it's so like I don't know, it's frustrating. Like I
So
feel like
have you not flipped back on survival and started to enjoy it more, or are you still kind of in that like I don't really like survival mode?
I
I
will
haven't touched
play
that yet.
I will play survival mode, but when I finish a survival mode game, I don't want to look at Ghost of Tsushima anymore. Like I don't want to look at the game. Like I just want to go play something else. I want to go read a book. I want to watch a movie. Like one of those matches is like an hour long. It's fucking ridiculous. And all you're doing is defeating waves of enemies who are trying to capture 3 different points. And the maps, like more than anything, I think determine how you're gonna play and like what you're gonna what characters might be better, because like some of them are like really flat and there's like no vertical areas to them whatsoever, so it's like you're just going to be getting into straight one-on-one sword fights. Some of them are like close packed together buildings, so it's like, oh, this would be a really good one if I need to like if I wanted to do a lot of like stealth assassinations and things like that. And it's just, I don't know, man, it's just weird.
I mean,
Like
I'll say
I
this.
think
I think the combat in Ghost of Tsushima is so strong, but like I can't imagine doing it consistently for like an hour, just like endlessly. I mean, I do want to try the survival mode, but I think the appeal of the combat in Ghost of Tsushima has always been like how kind of minimal
Not
it is,
too much of
or
it there is.
yeah,
the fucked up thing about survival mode is that like they've got a couple dials that they use to turn up difficulty as you go up in rank. One of them is that they just make the enemy stronger, have more HP, your attacks do less damage, that kind of thing.
right.
The other is that every time you go up like a medal, like so when you go from like bronze to silver to gold, they just add 5 more rounds. So you start at 15 rounds and then you end at 25 rounds. And it's just fucking
Damn.
It's a slog, man. It's such a slog. Like so many times I will be playing that and I will be like, okay, I'm about ready for this to be done. And I'm on round like 11 and I'm playing gold and there's 25 rounds and I'm just going, I don't
It's just
I don't
not-
even.
it's just not a
It's
good
like
horde mode.
I don't even like video games anymore now.
It's just
like,
not a good horde mode. The game doesn't support it. I think that they wanted to do a co-op thing, and naturally the first thing that pops into a developer's head is probably a horde mode. But like a good horde mode, like Gears or whatever, there's so much more going on, and the way you approach it, the way the enemies are approaching you, the environments.
Well, that
as
and like
opposed to
that
just
type
dudes
of
kind of running at
game.
you.
That type of game is a bit more conducive to like let's add more people to it. Like
That's
I
what
feel
I'm saying.
like let's add more people to it in this one is like I can't do the fun stealthy stuff I'm doing because like there's just 4 people running around murdering everything, you know? And it's like I'm not it doesn't feel like I've accomplished anything. I get some loot and I can level up and that's good. You know, that's just positive, but I don't feel like I've gained anything out of the experience, which kind of sucks because I really like the story mode and I really like the idea of being able to play with friends. But like, I'm sitting here wondering, like, I don't know, like, is this a mistake of design or is this just I can't take the core of Ghost of Tsushima and just like add more people to it because that ruins it because it's already kind of like this
I think the answer
solitary experience.
I think the answer is both.
I will. I mean, here,
I will say the really frustrating thing about it though is that there is a raid that's a 4-player like story thing, right? Where you're going after the like big boss of the Legends story mode, which is like the Onibaba.
yeah.
And apparently I have not played it because I have not leveled up high enough to be able to play it. But the reports that I have heard and everything I've read says that it's actually really cool. And what makes it cool is that like there's a completely different modality of gameplay to it where like it's like playing that horde mode, but it's incorporating stuff like you're doing here in this footage with like the puzzles, with like the attunements and like the platforms that only certain people can like jump on. I mean, it's like a completely new, like, it's almost like they started with survival and then they were like, okay, this is weird, how can we refine this a little bit, and then they invented story mode and then we're like, okay, yeah, this works a little better, and then they're like, how can we refine this a bit, and then they invented raids and they're like, oh, this is what the game should just be, you know?
Yeah,
like
Resistance 2.
yeah, it's kind of it's kind of weird.
So I have one more question. I have a question, I guess, about this whole Legends thing in general. Do you wish that some of this stuff was more incorporated into the main game?
Like, do I wish that the main story had like more of the supernatural elements?
Yeah.
Or like less of a regard for history?
Well, I personally don't.
Less of regard for history.
I like that they've
less-
found a way to do.
To be clear, less than they already have.
But you do like Legends or whatever in the main
You do.
game.
And there are
Always
some
like
things that kind of like
expanded.
toe that line. Like, yeah.
I wish there was both in the main game because I feel like the main story in the main game is just kind of dry, and it's probably dry because it's too realistic.
But here's the
And
thing: like, who's to say that game's not going to get deals like single player DLC that is taking notes from Legends in terms of its approach?
Yeah,
sure. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not looking for a solution. I'm just wondering if you wish.
Here's
that some
here's
of
what
this
I
stuff was
think.
in the main game.
I think that if the main story had more of that supernatural element, there would be a lot more there would be even more comparisons to stuff like Neo, which is a very
Sure.
supernatural game.
Sure.
Which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, whatever. I will say that like
There's a lot of cool enemy variety in Neo.
I will say that yeah, for sure. And I will say that their vision, just like their artistic vision for like what these weird, like what they're doing to make it kind of like weird and macabre and whimsical, like the kind of like visuals that they pull out, like the kind of levels that you're fighting in when they don't care about presenting a realistic environment are really cool. And like, yeah,
which is
like I bet that would
surprising.
make a really like those would make for some amazing set pieces in a single player like story driven game, you know?
But at the same time, I do think it's really cool that they have found a way to do these kinds of things without without compromising their vision of doing a kind of mostly historically accurate kind of game. But
don't forget that
you
there was a
mentioned-
second Mongolian invasion like 8 years later. So
that is, and that's honestly probably what the sequel is going to be.
No.
I
Look,
mean, it's
historical
probably true.
accuracy is only exciting it's not. It's a good thing for like a movie, but for like a video game.
Did anybody else here actually finish the story of Ghost of Tsushima other than me?
Yeah,
Video games have to be fun.
Okay.
I did.
I mean, but this video game is fun, Brad.
that
I mean, it may not speak
No,
to
it
you
is.
the same way that Neo does, but like it is going for a different thing, and I don't think they can be. I don't think they should be blamed
No,
for
but-
that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm saying, but like, whatever. I'm just saying, like, I think the reason that a lot of video games are like fantasy and science fiction is because, you know, it allows for game design to have a lot of variety in terms of locations and enemy designs and kits
Sure.
that the characters are using, right? And
But like, but there are plenty of people, myself included, who really adore like historically accurate, like realistic style games. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is like my favorite game of all time, and it's largely because of how grounded it is.
You're right, and you fight a lot of cowboy. I mean, you fight a lot of
Right, and
the
like that's
same
okay.
dudes.
That is okay with me.
It is
because
okay
to me, that
because
is not the most important
Rockstar
thing.
is really good at doing the thing that Red Dead 2 is really good at, and I don't think this studio is quite as good at that stuff. Like I'm saying, I like that it's historically accurate. I still don't care about the Mongol invasion, which is the whole fucking game.
It is the whole fucking game.
And to me, the most exciting parts were like these little side missions that dabbled in like myth, right? And it's those areas where I kind of wished it went a little more in this direction.
Yeah,
you know?
Sure.
Instead of just at the
wouldn't-
end,
I
I'm
won't
fighting a
disagree here.
bandit again.
I love the departures for Legends, and I'm really enjoying multiplayer. In fact, I would like to play more. I would like to try the survival mode. I would like to play that with community members. I do want to play some with Crispy. You know, I want to dig more into this because the progression system is cool, and I love the departures, the look and feel, the supernatural elements. But like you're right, I would have loved to see them. I would love to see some of this stuff find its way into the single player game. But I don't think it's at the detriment of the single player game.
Let's
but
end
it would
with
be
this
cool.
question.
Yeah,
What do you
I mean,
like
it's
more,
like-
this or Sekiro?
Ooh. Okay.
those are two very different beasts.
I know.
Yeah,
which one's
and
better?
it's also a weird so like one of the guys that I play video games with is absolutely obsessed with Sekiro and like got really up in his, you know, really like really I don't know how do you say this? He got real just like territorial about samurai games and like things like this because of Sekiro. Like we were all playing Ghosts and he's just like making fun of us and saying like Sekiro's fucking the like way better, blah blah blah. And like so I was
Video
having
game
this
discourse.
argument forever, like about which game's better, and it really is. They're two different games. It doesn't like it's
doesn't
just
matter.
a dumb, stupid argument, but
Which one's better though?
which one's better? I don't know. I think Sekiro is probably a better game, but I think I like this game better. Like, you know what I mean? Like
They're
Sekiro
going
is
for-
great, but I'm not going to endure that art, you know? Like I'm just going to play this from myself, you know?
I mean, this is a much more comfortable game. I'll tell you that. It is-
Like, yeah.
This
Yeah.
game doesn't make me hate myself.
This is way chiller if that's
yeah.
any quality of
one of the
of
first
note.
things I said. One of the first things I said about Ghost of Tsushima in Discord or on Twitter or whatever when I first started playing it was like, God, this is like the most chill action game I've ever played. Like it's
Yeah.
so relaxing.
Sure.
But which is not
Look, I didn't
any
mean
word you could use.
I didn't mean this for this to be a long discussion. The secret answer was Neo. You just didn't take the bait.
yeah.
Let's move on.
No, I know. I will
All
say before we do, I do want to say I actually overall do have a really positive view of this game, despite my frustrations. Part of that's just due to the fact that like this game has kind of just become an obsession with my social group for some reason, and I can't get away from it. And like, there's other things I want to play, but like everybody
And
that
it's
I
coming
talk
back
to
to
is
this,
just
yeah.
talking about this game, and I feel like it's like a cudgel that's being used to beat me.
This platforming thing in the footage is like the coolest thing I've seen in
Yes, and there's
Ghost of
some really
Tsushima.
cool ones that you do later on. Like there are harder level ones where like you're both having to swing onto platforms, each with a separate attunement, and you're having to time your swings so that you're landing while the other person's there. But then they
That's
have
cool.
like it's really cool. Like
If
there's
Ghost of
really cool
Tsushima
stuff.
looked like this, I would have finished.
And I hate that they took all the best stuff and like shoved it into this like weird little
Multiplayer.
end game box.
Yeah.
or
Right.
into the multiplayer to begin with. Like,
You know, as I was playing this today, I kept thinking to myself, this really feels to me kind of like Ghost of Tsushima's version of like Undead Nightmare or
Sure.
Festival of Blood, but
Yeah.
with a multiplayer twist on it, which is fine. And I think like there's some really neat ideas in here, and I think it makes this multiplayer mode feel very special. But I'm hoping that when we inevitably get Ghost of Tsushima 2 or whatever it's going to be called,
gonna be
maybe
called
maybe like Brad said, they start to take some of these like wackier elements and really start to flesh out the.
I think
wacky.
I think this could. Yeah,
You mean actual like mythology?
Yeah,
actual mythology?
but like
yeah, gods are wacky. Okay,
we could debate all
religion
day about
is wacky.
It is,
when
but
he says wacky, he means it negatively.
Yeah, I know.
No,
He
I
doesn't
don't.
like the silly word. He doesn't like the goofy word. He doesn't
No,
like
but
wacky.
like I am the kind of person who really appreciates Ghost of Tsushima because of the historical story it's trying to tell. But like you're right, there are lots of moments in that single player game where they are dipping their toes into mythology and lore, but they don't take it far enough.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I would love to see them.
I'm sorry. Let's
It
move
is-
on.
it is kinda-
This conversation. Is
You
not
guys,
necessary.
I haven't had anything to talk about. I want to talk about that. Okay.
Oh, there's
Wait,
more to
hold
say.
on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
please.
No, I'm done. I got
I'm
it.
sorry.
I got it all out.
I mean,
I don't believe you, Crispy.
But hey, let's talk about that PS5 controller again.
Crispy. I don't believe you. What do you want to talk about?
I think this could really be like a thing that people would want to play if they keep supporting it. If they release more maps, if they release more items and like customization, which I don't know if they're going to. I would rather them improve this than wait for whatever Ghost of Tsushima 2 is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would rather, because I think they've got enough here to really like
Villasaurus made a good point when I was playing with him today, and it was that like they made this raid, right? That the Onibaba thing that you were talking about, like the fact that exists kind of implies they're going to do more of them, but that kind of serves as like the culmination of all these like story missions they've already done, which kind of implies if they're going to do another raid, they're going to do
like
more
a whole new
story content.
storyline kind of thing.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
This is your factions.
It's not. No, this is not factions, but this is kind of like factions, and it's kind of like Assassin's Creed multiplayer, where like sometimes while you're playing, like in the moment of all the chaos, like it just kind of clicks, and then it's like, oh, that's really cool. That feels really cool. Like the way that you like distracted this guy, and I like assassinated this other guy, and we were like we didn't even have to talk. We were in tandem. Like it's fucking. Sometimes it clicks, and it's really cool.
I really fucking regret not playing this yet.
Go play it. It's a free
It's definitely
update.
worth checking out. You might
It's
get
still there,
addicted.
and Ghost of Tsushima runs really well on PS5. I hear. So.
Ooh, I would like
60
to try it on PS5.
frames.
All right. Anything else you want to get out there, Crispy, before we move on?
No, I'm good.
I'm really enjoying it. I do want to play more of this. So, Crispy, if you and Cam are playing more, and you have an opening, the next this weekend and
Cam will hard carry you to the raid.
the next 3 weekends, this one included for me, are 4-day weekends. So I have lots of time. Although, like Nolan pointed out, the PlayStation 5 comes out. So, but I still want to play some more. Anyways, let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to talk a little bit about Visage, because that game's cool and it's scaring the shit out of me, and I want to talk about it. And then we'll answer some questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch. We'll wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Green Toast has, and Osama bin Affleck has, I think. And
because I was trying to pick between that and Yakuza, and this review, which seemed to be pretty insightful into what the game actually was chasing me off of it.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's 10:12. We need to get started.
Yeah. Nolan, we got some questions in. You maybe have that ready, standing by.
I'm pulling it up right now.
And as we come back, Nick, can we promote the video?
Yeah, I'll do that real quick at the beginning.
Good.
Everybody ready to clap?
1 minute.
I am ready to clap.
Okay.
Crispy. 3, 2, 1.
Clap.
Wonderful. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Before we continue, I do want to quickly mention we have finished a new video feature that is currently available for supporters on Patreon. We were supposed to be playing Cyberpunk 2077, I think this week, but it was pushed back to December.
Next week, technically.
Oh, next week, 10th. I guess you're right. But it was obviously delayed to December 10th. But we put together a new video where we each kind of recommend a game that's kind of cyberpunk-esque, or maybe shares a lot of vibes or a similar world or something. Just some recommendations if you're kind of in the mood for that kind of game, but have to wait a little bit longer. It's available on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. If you're a patron at any tier, you can view it. But it'll be available tomorrow at 9 a.m. for everybody else. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on 4playernetwork.com, and it'll be on Twitter and everything. So check that out. We'd appreciate feedback. If you have any recommendations of your own you want to make, be sure to leave them in the comments. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. It'll be available tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. If you're listening to this on your headphones, walking around somewhere, it means it's probably already out. Go check it out. But we have one more game to talk about today before we answer some questions from our patrons and Twitch subscribers. I started last week. I've been dreading this kind of, but I finally started playing Visage, which you may remember is a game we played briefly back. I think this was like 2 years ago. It's been in early access for a while, but we played it for one of our Halloween marathon streams. And had a good time with it, and it was pretty terrifying back then. Even with 5 of us sitting together in a room, playing that together, it was pretty freaky. But it finally came out of early access, which means it's a 2020 release, and I wanted to make sure I played it. So I did a stream of this last weekend, and I'm going to do more of it here soon. But this is very specifically this. You're going to watch this footage, you're going to think, oh my God, this looks like PT. And this is very much kind of born from that same concept and building on the success of PT and wanting to kind of flesh that mood and that atmosphere and that setting out into a full game. So that's what this is. And also, real quick, before I talk any further about it, if you're watching the footage live, I do apologize if it appears a bit choppy. I don't know why it came out that way, but it wasn't like that when I was playing.
It looks fine to me.
Okay. For some reason, when I play the video on my computer, it's fucked. But I'm glad it's working here. Anyways. So yeah, this game's fucking terrifying. It starts out with you like apparently killing your family and then yourself, and then you kind of wake up in this
choppy.
Yeah, see, it gets really choppy here. I don't know why. It's bizarre. But you know, all of a sudden you wake up, and it's very much like the beginning of PT, where you kind of get up off the floor in this like really bare, grimy room, and all of a sudden you just walk out the door and you're in this weird house, and you have really no context going forward, and it's like super ultra realistic, and you're just kind of, oh my God, sorry, that's weird. But you're exploring this house, and it's very clearly fucking haunted.
So has anything changed from that demo that we played 2 years ago?
Well,
like, is it the same thing?
Well, that demo we played back then, I don't know how much of the game kind of existed in that because we didn't finish it back then. But the way the game is kind of structured, is, as far as I can tell, is you have to kind of explore the house, and you have to find clues that lead you to the beginning of a chapter. And the chapters are kind of organically placed in here, but once you trigger a chapter, a certain series of events starts to unfold inside the house. So it starts very realistic. The house is very like normal in terms of its structure. You can kind of memorize the layout, and then as you trigger chapters, creepier and creepier random shit starts to happen, and then all of a sudden you start to kind of tumble down a rabbit hole, and all of a sudden the layout of the house doesn't make sense. You're going into dark places, and things like doors are disappearing that you just came out of, and like just all kinds of weird random shit. You're opening a door, and then all of a sudden you're in a much bigger space than you know should exist, that kind of thing. Like, that's the kind of style of horror. But the entire time, once you trigger a chapter, you're being kind of like, each chapter is based, as far as I can tell, is based off of like a ghost, one of the ghosts that's haunting this place. So if you remember back in 2018 or whatever, when we played this, we went into this like little girl's room, And we went in her closet, and we like knocked on the wall of her closet, and all of a sudden you heard someone knock back, and then you walk you walk back into the hallway on the other side of where that closet would be, and all of a sudden there's this like weird drawing on the wall, and that kind of starts to unravel and leads you to some really creepy shit. So like that is kind of the chapter I'm in right now, but I've gone much farther past where we had played. Like we pretty much stopped after some of their really scary shit started to happen.
We got to the
and
birdcage room, and I think that's where we stopped.
Yeah, I've gotten past the birdcage room, which, by the way, the birdcage room is utterly terrifying. You get, as you can see, like the kind of the main mechanic I'm using predominantly in this footage is you pick up a camera, and it's very, very, very dark, and you're using the flash of the camera to kind of illuminate your way through the room. Which, as you can imagine, as you're doing this, you're hearing a lot of really creepy shit happening in the audio, and you're picking up quick glimpses of really terrifying shit, and all of a sudden it's there and then it's gone. And one of the really cool things that happens very early on is like when you go in that birdcage room. I don't remember how far we got into the birdcage room, but you're exploring in this very, very dark room filled with bird cages, and all of a sudden you get to a path, and I was using the flash, and all of a sudden you use the flash and you see the little girl standing there. And I was like, but she's not moving. She's just kind of standing perfectly still. And I was like, well, fuck this. I'm not going that way. And then you start to realize you have no choice. You have to go that way. So I turned out, I put the camera away. I put away, because you can also hold like a lighter and stuff. I made sure to put that away so it's pitch black, but you can kind of see exactly where she's standing and you can hear her. And to progress, you literally just have to turn out all the lights where it's pitch black and just walk into her. And as soon as you walk into her, you can progress. But if you try and go near her with the light on, you get fucking destroyed. Like she like rips you apart. So it's like really, it's kind of, the game is really unique in that it shows you these horrifying things and situations, and then
it forces you to interact with it.
It forces you to do the one thing you don't want to do in all of these situations. But it's really unique in that way. Like the genre of horror. Brad had asked me at some point, I don't remember, I think you popped into my stream and you'd asked me like, but is this a game? Is that does that question still stand for you, Brad? Or
I don't remember asking that, but I know what I would mean if I asked that question.
I mean, I'm assuming you were just meaning like, are there like mechanics, or like, is it just kind of a haunted house that you're walking through?
Here's the thing. If I were to play a game like this, I like that it's super scary. It's probably actually too scary for me to play. But is this a game that's scary. Like, is this like hard to play? Do you have to like carefully manage your stuff, or is this
it does have
is it easy to lose?
I haven't died a lot, and it is kind of like Amnesia in the sense that you do have a sanity meter, kind of, and the longer you spend in the dark, your sanity meter starts to decrease or whatever, and that's when you start to become in danger of seeing some really fucked up shit, and that can really harm you, and you can die. But there's also been situations where I've seen something utterly terrifying, and the only thing I could think to do, because I literally was just hyperventilating in my chair, was to turn around and stare at the wall and just hope that it goes away. And then I turn around and it's gone. But there have also been situations where that didn't work, or I just made the wrong decision and I just got fucking destroyed. So there are ways in which you can die in this game for sure. But it is not overly difficult. You're not like trying to micromanage things. You do have candles that you can kind of place throughout the house and light, which give you kind of like bubbles of safety or a feeling of safety at least. But like, I was really worried this was going to be a really intimidating game, and it is in the sense that it's terrifying because it's ultra realistic, and the style, the spooks, like the styles of horror that it's using to try and scare you are terrifying. But I've never felt like, I've only died like twice, maybe 3 times. I died once in this footage. That's kind of where I end the footage, and I was like, nope, I'm done. But it's a very manageable game, and it unfolds in a really interesting way, and it's one of those games that's like so scary, but it's also really compelling in the way that it tells the story and the way that the things that it's showing you. You never kind of know what's going to be behind a door, and that is more powerful than my instinct to not play it or to run away. You know what I mean?
No.
So
this looks way too scary for me.
This is one of those games I could only play probably with chat, like streaming with chat there, talking me through it and enjoying it with me. And if I was to just turn off the lights and play this by myself in a room with no moral support at all, I'd probably freak out and quit. But it is one of the most effective horror games I've ever played. And if you played PT, if you're one of those people who played PT and was terrified and was like really disappointed by the fact that Silent Hills never came to fruition, this is very much like a game for you, because
it's
it takes
so funny because this is the kind of game that like PT is this famous thing, and I think it's famous not just because of its quality but because of the moment when it came out, right? And maybe it's quality, but like this is the game that I think people wanted who are PT fans wanted PT to be.
Absolutely,
it is totally not the game that PT was going to be.
No. I mean, PT was going to be Silent Hill.
Exactly, and I'm sure that would have been like very different,
right?
Even like in terms of feeling. Then,
which is why I feel
this is made for people who enjoy PT.
You're right, absolutely right. And I do, I think a lot of people's instinct might be to like, oh, this just looks like a ripoff of PT, but then you gotta think about it a little bit more, like you just said. Like, this is what PT, if it had been extrapolated out into a full game, would have been, but this is not what Silent Hills would have become at all. So it's cool to like take that concept and see it extrapolated out, and it is telling an interesting story, and it is doing some really unique things. It's honestly, in my opinion, one of the most unique horror experiences I've had outside of something like Amnesia, for sure. And like some of the they do a really good job of like making you feel safe in certain ways and then taking it away. Like you at the beginning of the game,
you feel safe.
At the beginning of the game, you can flip light switches and turn on lights, which light makes you feel safe, right? And then you have some shit happens and you meet the ghost or whatever, and like all the lights go out, and then when the lights come back, or like the TV turns on, right? Like Poltergeist, like you just see the static on the TV and it's illuminated the room. All of the light switches in the house have been removed. They're all gone. And they're like the sockets are like strewn on the ground, making a trail through the house. So you have to follow this trail of like light switches that have been ripped out of the wall that are laying on the floor, but you can no longer flip the light switches. So you're literally lighting a little lighter and like walking down this like, and this is the kind of game where you'll be walking down a hall, it's like nothing's happening, and all of a sudden one of the doors just slowly starts to open, and you're just like, what the fuck?
I can't play this game. I can't play it.
I know, and that's honestly how I felt. But it's so compelling. I can't stop myself. I want to keep going.
This is where I recommend that movie, His House, again. It's on Netflix.
I saw that on Netflix. I put it on my list.
Yeah.
Do you?
I have a hard time with house horror. Oh, I genuinely recommend it. I think it's a really good horror movie.
So the house keeps changing as you progress in the game. Is there a lot of like non-Euclidean architecture in there?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, this whole game takes place inside this house, but I'm only on like chapter 1. I don't know how many. There's probably like 3 or 4 chapters, I'm guessing, and like the whole game takes place inside this house. But like this Lucy chapter has taken me all over the place, and I don't feel like I'm exploring the same house anymore, even though I am. It's weird. It's crazy. It's really cool, and it's utterly terrifying, and it's relentless. It does not hold back. So I do recommend, if you are squeamish or not good at playing these horror games. By the way, like this room see me in right now, where I'm using the flash, and you see the fucking like Babadook drawing on the wall. Like, no, thank you.
Is it me, or does the drawing get bigger with every flash?
Dude, there's so much shit like that in this game.
It's so cheesy. I hate that, right? Because that stuff is cheesy and tropey, but it still works. And that's
the thing, Brad. Is in all honesty, like some of the cheesiest, tropey-ish stuff is the stuff that fucking works the best. Like it never fucking fails.
It's unfair.
So I rewatched the original The Conjuring the other weekend, and I got it. Like I was thinking about, like, this is like so like by the books horror, right? But like so much of what they do in that movie is super effective, and it doesn't, like, to the point where it doesn't even matter. The movie scared the shit out of me, and this is kind of like this game in a nutshell. Like and a lot of it has to do with audio design too, because if the audio design wasn't as good as it is, this wouldn't work half as well. But I highly recommend it. I'm loving it. I'm gonna stream more of it, maybe this weekend, Saturday or Sunday or something. But I'm I'm gonna get to this game because it's one of the best horror games I've played in a long time. It's like straight up horror games. But anyways, that's Visage. Check it out. It's spooky. Okay. Nolan. Got some questions for us from our supporters on Patreon. Oh, he's doing the eyebrow thing. It's weird. From our supporters on Patreon and Twitch.
I sure do.
Let's hear him.
Okay. Do we want to do old questions first or new questions first?
I like what you did last time, where it's like a couple of the old ones, and then jumped into the new ones.
All right. Let's do an old question first. First question this week from way back in September from Osama bin Affleck.
Oh no. I'm preparing you for this one's for you, Chris Davis.
Oh shit.
I don't even know this is a sincere question. I feel like it's just he wanted to. I'll leave it up to you, Nolan. You go.
Would you rather The Division 2 be the only game you're allowed to play for the rest of your life, or have taste buds in your asshole?
Oh god.
There's only one answer to that question. Well,
It's a lot more difficult for Chris Davis.
I mean,
Wait,
here's the thing. The second part of that question is not really relevant. You can replace that with anything.
I can
The question-
if I have to, I can abandon video games.
Yeah.
I will not abandon my taste buds to my asshole.
I'll
No.
do something else.
You're not going to abandon the taste buds in your asshole?
Wait, what was the game? What was the game? What was
Division
Division
2.
2.
And not even the good division. They got the sequel. Like,
I mean, I'm sure.
Wait, well,
but
back up a
here's-
second.
but
Back up a
here's-
second.
So Chris Davis,
Chris Davis just
You-
called the Division 2 bad? Is
I
that
don't
what
not-
he said?
the
no,
not
I
game?
didn't say it was bad. I just said that I don't think it's as good as the first game.
Okay, fair enough. But it was
Well-
the first game. You consider it.
Well, what's like
No.
the worst? So when we're talking about taste buds in the asshole, what's the
Mhm.
worst case scenario that like you have to taste poop for the rest of your life, or that you come to enjoy the taste?
Honestly, my biggest thing is it weirds me. I don't know if it weirds you out, but I just don't want to taste my finger.
Bad.
That's always weird to me.
Next question. Sorry. Osama bin Affleck is in chat right now, and he's like, I'm going to be honest, guys. I thought y'all threw this question away, and I did too. But hey, we did it.
Osama
We
bin Affleck,
appreciate-
we don't throw away any questions. Sometimes we just skip them for a few months.
We're not cowards.
We do appreciate your support, though. You can ask us anything. All right, next question. that was pretty good.
All right, next question. This one's from just a week ago, November 5th, Zero Skies. If you decided to add a new permanent channel to Discord, what would your personal choice of topic be?
Ooh.
Pet pictures.
Can I?
What?
Wait, what?
Pet pictures.
Cat pictures?
Pet
pictures.
pictures.
Oh, pet pictures might.
That was
be
actually one I
something.
was thinking about not too
That's
long
wholesome.
ago.
That's wholesome. I like Nolan added the what is
Food?
it called? Yeah, but like specifically like food I made.
Food I
Right.
made.
We
yeah.
already
Look at
had
the food
that.
I made.
Yeah.
I know. I'm saying that's a good
Nick's just saying,
example.
that's an example of a while back where I had the decision because lots of people had been posting photos of their food. I was like, why don't we just make this a permanent channel instead of like having it be in general? Because I just don't like going in general, and so I'd rather look at other channels. So
Just avoid general like the plague.
No,
Well,
no.
avoid Carlos's.
Yeah,
channel.
Carlos's channel is by far the worst.
if Carlos
now.
has a channel, I have it muted and blocked, so I don't even see it. Like,
it's so bad.
Oh,
It's
he
just-
has a channel.
The
I
Fear
believe
3
it's
OnlyFans?
currently named Fear 3 OnlyFans.
Yeah.
okay.
it's-
Is that Fear 3 fans only or a Fear 3 only fans?
I think it's
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
He asked me to make it Fear 3 fans only, but I
OnlyFans?
riffed.
Beautiful. Chef's kiss.
It's just people posting bad memes and stuff.
So here's the thing. I don't think there's a specific topic that I'd want to add that we don't already have covered in some way, but I would want a channel where if I post it, everybody who's in our server has to see it.
That's dangerous.
That's announcements, I guess. And then like has to engage with it, you know? Like cuz sometimes I get like sometimes I get like I'm really into something right now, but nobody else is, and it's like I just gotta fucking talk to somebody about it. So
a flavor of the
but
week.
Then
channel.
like I go in and like I'll put like I'm reading a book, so I'll post it in books, and people will be like, "Oh, that's cool," and then go back to talking about whatever they actually want to talk about, like which is whatever it was before I stopped. It's like I want a lever that stops all conversation and makes people talk to me.
Yeah, no, Crispy doesn't want a channel. He wants like a pop-up that you have to acknowledge seeing.
Yeah, Crispy's channel is the Discord equivalent of a just an invasive pop-up. I love it. I added recently, or not recently, back when I was playing.
That's what Zero Sky is saying. Yes, exactly that. Everyone has to cast an emoji in response to what I'm talking about.
Before they're given permissions to
before they can use any other channel. And
that's a lot of power, though, Chris. That's a lot of power. You could use that for evil so terribly.
If it was up to me, I would let Crispy wield that power.
I mean, in all honesty, I would just always add the poop emoji and move on.
Do you know what I want to do? I don't want to add a channel. I don't want to be off topic, but
I want to veto channels.
How do we free Carlos from this bit? Because sometimes I feel like
we block him from
he's so
Discord.
committed to a bit. He'd rather be miserable but not give up on the bit. And sometimes there might be like a really interesting conversation going on another channel, and he'll DM me his thoughts because he's reading the conversation, but he can't post. He can't post, and he just wants to say something, so he'll just DM it to me. And
I've never seen someone.
I'm like,
so
I feel so bad. He's so committed to his bit. He's stuck in his channel's so bad too. People just post the trash in there.
Okay, so like we work together, right? And we have like a internal office like chat, and there's a room that's just like people talking, you know, about whatever, right? Just like hanging out talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people were talking about video games in there today. And Carlos was in there being the most normal person I've ever seen in the fucking world, like completely different person. He's talking to all these other like randos about like, oh yeah, PS5's coming out. I'm really excited. Yo, you should play Hades. I had a lot of fun with Hades. I think you'd really like Hades. Like, but like it is like I see him do it every once in a while, and it's like, you piece of shit.
Like I know you're capable of being a regular fucking human being.
Just dropping his mask around people.
Well, no, so Crispy, that's the thing. Is like I hate Discord and Twitter Carlos. I have Carlos muted on Twitter. I in person, I fucking love Carlos.
I love it when he gets normal. I'm like, get away from me.
when we ran into each other at the end of when we both ran the half marathon, we ran into each other afterwards. We're hanging out, taking pictures with each other, Yeah, and he was like, "Man, I took the bus here." I was like, fuck that, dude. I'll drive you, and like, you know, just having a good old fucking time. But then I fucking hate his guts in Discord and on Twitter. Like I fucking hate that guy.
Here's the crazy thing is Malia has been friends with Carlos for as long as I have, right? Because we all used to work together. But like she knows that this kind of Carlos exists, but she obviously doesn't interact with that, right? So she's only ever seen normal Carlos. Yeah. And in person, he's only ever been normal Carlos to her. So sometimes she'll be like, you know, like maybe we're gonna, I mean, it's COVID, right? So we don't really hang out together anymore, but like she'll be like, oh, can you message Carlos about this or whatever? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't. If you want to get real information from Carlos, you're gonna have to do that because I can't.
And she doesn't understand.
With that. Yeah, I can't go online and interact with normal Carlos. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Have we ever actually seen normal Carlos? I'm not certain I ever have.
No, I have seen normal Carlos. Normal Carlos came to my housewarming party and was just the most delightful.
Yeah, that's a perfect
person.
example. When Nick had his housewarming party and Carlos was there, had a great fucking time with Carlos. The last time we saw him in San Antonio during PAX South or whatever, fucking had a great time with Carlos. I didn't block him on Twitter. I just muted him.
Let me say this to anybody who may be listening to our podcast for the first time or maybe coming into the community for the first time and not really knowing what the fuck we're talking about, watch the Cyberpunk video that I just talked about a few minutes ago. That's coming out tomorrow. Carlos is a part of that video. You will understand what we mean.
No, I didn't watch it.
When you watch that video.
I mean, I've not watched the video, but he legitimately likes.
I know. Which is, I know, but you would never, unless you understand Carlos, you would never know it from watching that video. But you know what? He's a part of this team, whether he likes it or not, and we let him be a part of the video. Just watch it. Just watch the video. Anyways, we got really off topic here. Any other answers for the Discord channel?
Nope.
I feel like if you were going to make a new Discord channel, a permanent one, it would be something that should have infinite returns. So like default answers for me, like I'd make a Dexter channel. Wouldn't like you can't talk about Dexter till the end of time. You can't do that. So it needs to be something generic.
Literally everything that has to be said about Dexter has been said.
Right. That's true.
Well,
as much as
dang, that's
rude.
All right, let's move on. Next question from just a couple days ago from
my answer is porn, by the way. My answer is porn.
Got it. We used to have, I'm sure we probably still do in the forums.
How many X's?
The lewd. Oh, we need a lewd channel.
No, we don't.
Let's not.
It's a bad idea because people can't be trusted. People.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope.
Dude, it's a slippery slope
among
following
many
fucking
slippery
sci-fi
things.
on Twitter. Like, I can't imagine having a lewd channel in Discord.
I can't follow sci-fi. I just can't.
Oh, you cowards.
It's too dangerous.
Right. Next question from Negative Cosine. Does a super, and this is a relevant question because we've kind of already talked about it a little bit tonight. Does a supermassive open world map add anything meaningful to a game? I usually start using fast travel as soon as it gets unlocked.
Let me just say this answer is going to differ from person to person.
Of course.
I am still the kind of person who almost never uses fast travel. If I start using fast travel, especially early in a game, that is a very early indicator that I'm probably not going to finish it or stick with it.
The problem is not the size of the world; it's
what you put in it.
No,
Yes.
it's that some games do not provide meaningful ways to traverse that world, and in a lot of the games that Nick's not using fast travel, like that's a problem, right? Like fast travel's in there as a crutch because a normal person is not going to do what Nick does.
But like,
and that's a fault of the game design, honestly. It's
that's not even necessarily
like I
all
love
the
when a
time.
world is expansive if they're the way you interact with it scales with the size of it, like a Xenoblade Chronicles X or whatever, right? Where you start off, you're just running on foot, and then you get a mech, and then the mech can like transform into a car, and then eventually you're flying, and the world is like insanely large, but you've come up with like really fun ways to like navigate it to where it could stay seamless, to where you can get to where you need to go.
I want to agree with Brad on that.
If you play for 80 hours.
Well,
to expand on that, like sure. a good counter example is something like Red Dead Redemption 2, which has a fairly large fucking map. But from 45 seconds into the game, you already have your fastest mode of transportation, unless you fast travel. It's just a fucking horse. And like, there's literally a fucking challenge in that game that's like get from this city to this city in real time under 17 minutes. And it's like, that's fucking insane that it's like travel across this map in 17. Like, holy fuck. Yeah. Like, but the reason, yes, I definitely fast travel in that game.
But like, here's the thing: the reason why I don't fast travel is because some of my favorite moments in video games, period,
I know,
are the moments, the things, the side stories that kind of naturally, organically unfold in the world, in between places.
I want to talk about that, Nick. I agree with you. One of my favorite things in games is, yes, stumbling across something. And when you're fast traveling, you were way less likely to do that. So if you want me to stumble across something, don't make that something 4 miles apart in the game. Don't make it so spread out and so open that there are fields and gaps and leagues of land where there's nothing to do.
I mean, I guess
know that.
I guess for me, it's like I'm also the kind of person who like I literally like one of the most relaxed. Like I'm not even shitting you. Like I get up I can get up in the morning on like a Saturday morning, make a cup of coffee, and sit down and just play Red Dead Redemption 2 and literally just walk through a field for a while, and it's like super relaxing to me.
But
Like
Nick,
without
you're not
doing
supposed
really anything.
you're not supposed to mix stimulants and depressants.
I guess that's
So we're not talking about why Nick loves Red
like,
Dead 2.
here's
We get
the
that.
thing.
But
I okay, my two bits on this are that I think that I want to clarify. Are we saying that like games shouldn't have fast travel, or are we saying that like they should absolutely have fast travel, but they should be made in such a way that I don't necessarily want to use it?
well, it's not
I
about fast travel. It's
believe
about
you
big open
leave-
worlds.
I believe the question was
does it add
surrounding the big open worlds, but yes,
Okay,
Crispy. I
but
think
what
the
about when
answer
we're
is kind of
talking about-
the second part, like what you had just said. That if the game gives you fast travel as a hey, just in case you need it, here it is. But if that is so enticing and so you were so drawn to not doing it, then it doesn't matter.
if
I
you feel
think-
enticed to use it, I feel like the game has failed on some level.
Oh,
I
but
agree.
like,
I
okay,
agree.
but we're not talking about Dark Souls. We're not talking about Castlevania. We're not
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
something
Hollow
different.
Knight. We're not.
But see,
talking...
Castlevania introduces new ways of travel to make the castle feel smaller as you get later into the game. You can turn into a bat. You can turn into a wolf that runs faster.
Right, but you're definitely
this-
relying on fast travel, like in a very like real way.
But this question is specifically about like expansive open worlds.
Yeah,
like
so
Assassin's
I
Creed, like
would
The
say
Witcher,
that
like
I would
Breath
say
of the
that
Wild.
Hollow Knight, while it is a large world, doesn't fit in this because Hollow Knight, even though the world is large and I did fast travel a lot, I feel like I still traversed every single area of that game multiple times, just as that's the game type. Versus something like Assassin's Creed, where there's literally a fucking small country in a game. Like I don't want to fucking.
But there are
like-
a lot. There's I'm thinking specifically of Odyssey, and the reason I played Odyssey for so many hours I didn't start. I started fast traveling, and that's when I started knowing like, okay, I need to start wrapping this up, and that was about 70 hours in, and that is because there are so many really great little secrets everywhere in that world, to the point where it's like I don't want to miss any of that stuff. So I never fast traveled. I can say the same thing about Red Dead Redemption 2, but like I'm playing Watch Dogs Legion right now, and I'm already fast traveling. You get fucking you get sports cars in that game, and I'm fast traveling because the world just isn't that interesting to me. Like I'm enjoying the gameplay, but like I just don't.
What? And there's a lot of like cool stuff to find as you walk around Fallout or some, the world of Fallout. But how much better would it be if you could drive a fucking car?
Yeah.
Good point. Gigamir also referenced you talked about like traversal scaling with the game. Gigamir made a good point. Death Stranding is actually a really good example of that, because like that whole game is about finding and building new modes of transportation. Like to the point
making
where
it easier to traverse the world.
Nolan knows what I'm talking about. Like the best part of that game was like getting on a zip line on one end of the map and making it all the way to the other end without touching the ground. Like that was the most addicting thing I've ever done.
So like the game. God.
I was gonna say the reason why I very rarely fast traveled in Death Stranding was because of the game's nature of delivering packages. So I would just structure my routes and where I want to go based on what's available to send to where.
Oh, I definitely
honestly,
did that.
that
Chris,
whole
I definitely
game-
was like, I know I need to get here. What in the building I'm in? Do they have any packages that need to get delivered between here and there? Because if so, I'm going to take them on my path to go. I definitely did that. Yeah.
I mean, that game it's kind of hard to make a case for like fast traveling really in that game, because the whole game is about traversal. You have it's a big
The last
puzzle
20% of
Chris,
it
it
is
doesn't matter.
fair.
Crispy,
for
what were you gonna
making
say?
that argument.
I was gonna say that like I don't know that this is a point, but like the thing I was thinking about is like the games where like I think when we talk about this stuff, the games that we're really thinking about, like, oh my god, if I'm using fast travel in this game, then they failed at something else, are things like Batman and Spider-Man, where like you're a superhero, so you can like do all these really cool things to like move around a city, but like you're still not like necessarily like if there's a game where like if in Skyrim they like said, hey, there's a special pair of boots that let you fly, like you can literally just take off and fly anywhere, wouldn't you think that would be more fun than fast traveling? Like you'd probably do
Yes.
that to get around.
That was sort of my
But at the
point.
same time, you're removing yourself from the world still. Like you're not encountering anything during that like fly time, you know?
But that's
it's
why
giving you like a power fantasy, but it's taking away like the sprawling world fantasy, you know?
Yes and no. So I think it could depend, Crispy. And I don't think maybe necessarily in a game like Skyrim or Oblivion you could do that, but maybe in the next gen version, think of something like, Spider-Man with draw distance, this new one. If you can fly around, but you can see something going on that piques your interest, you're like, I kind of want to investigate this. I want to see, it's like Nick had said in Red Dead, they did it where, you're riding around your horse and you'd see some guy holding up a carriage. Well, I can ignore that, or I can interact with it and maybe, get some item or some shit, or the guy will give me a free gun later or whatever. I think if you could do something in a way that would let the character still move around the world faster, but give you a reason to stop and interact with things, I think you can still do that.
I mean, for me, like loading screens just pull me out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So
as
it's
simple
like-
as that.
Those
like-
are basically
yeah.
gone, Nick.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
like
still not the same.
What's up, Crispy?
No, I'm like I'm really I don't know, this isn't something I've really thought about, so like I'm really trying to wrap my head around like what is the thing about, because I know what Nick's talking about. Like I've played certain games where it's like, why would I fast travel when I can web sling, Like what is it about being in the world while you're moving through it that seems so essential? And I guess what you're talking about, Nolan, is kind of what it is. But like, if you're flying, yeah, I don't know. So like, if you're taking away,
you maintain like the sense of scale and being getting a cohesive sense of the world in place.
If you're in it, you should be replacing it with like power fantasy, or you should be replacing it with like something fun and engaging, and not just like slicing out. And it's weird because I think about this a lot in like a tabletop RPG perspective when I'm playing games where it's like, okay, I've got a campaign where the party's set in a city and like they're going to go out into the woods and find a temple, right? And then like, how do I handle that like travel between those two distances? Because there's so many different ways to do that. And one of those ways is literally just like, just don't, just say like, okay, nothing happened and you guys are there, Or do we make the entire game this sense of travel, which is something like what Death Stranding does, where like there's nothing to Death Stranding beyond that sense of like traversing the land and mastering terrain, Like I don't know. I'm just going in circles.
No, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of layers to this question. It seems simple on the surface, but like there's so many different examples, so many different approaches to this whole thing, and some have worked, some have not, or just some are, controversial, or
Sure.
You could go any number of ways with this conversation.
Sure.
But it's certainly an interesting question, because for some reasons, for some people, it matters more than most. Like Robin does not understand why I don't fast travel. She fast travels in everything. And I'm just like, why? Why are you doing that?
I feel that way about a lot of games that I really love,
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, no, like I need to be over there to do what I want to do. Like,
All right, let's move on. Next question. This one comes from Chris Thacker from
Kincaid, West Virginia.
Hey, yeah. If you could change anything about these new consoles, what would you want to see different? This can be as simple as a price drop on the console or an accessory, or even adding a feature not currently present.
I would like for them to be $5 and for there to be about 10 million more of them.
That's a small ask, I think.
One of the big ones for me, and I think I talked about it when we first heard the announcements of it. I would love, and I know Nick is not going to be on board with this, but that's fine. I would love to be able to mail Sony my PS4 discs and have them give me codes for those games.
I mean, I would not be opposed to that. I mean, I think one thing I do like about this is that this generation has been kind of like, nobody, like everyone's like, are we ready for an all digital future? And it's kind of like, well, why do we have to be ready when we could just be like, if for those who are ready, take the plunge. For those who aren't, here's an option too. We're taking our first step into it instead of just jumping with both feet, which I think is really good. So giving people the option to somehow get digital copies of games they already own physically would be really nice.
And vice versa.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Sony could give me my digital copy and then turn around and sell that game.
I mean, even if it's like okay, you've paid full price for a digital game, but I would like a physical copy of it. Here for that, you can pay us like $5, and we'll print you a disc and send it to you, or something like that. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe that's unreasonable or unmanageable, but like that would be cool. Um, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, and y'all have your consoles already, so I'm really eager to see what it's like when I get it. But like Brad said, like the quiet, like the noise thing. When I booted up Ghost of Tsushima today, I usually play with headphones on, right? Well, I took my headphones off for a second. I was like, holy shit, I forgot about this. So fucking loud. It sounds like that's no longer a thing anymore, so that's good. I mean,
one of the reasons is the size of the console.
And for me, the jury is still out on like how I ultimately feel about the look and design of the PS5.
It looks cool in person.
I think it looks good. I agree with Brad.
I'm glad
in
to hear
person,
that.
it looks way better than like photos and the things we've seen online.
Yeah,
cool. I'm really eager to see it for myself. So I don't know if I would necessarily change that myself. If I was talking about the Xbox side of things, I mean, I think the obvious choice here is that I think that I wish they had a better launch lineup.
all right. You're just being mean. You don't care about
No,
the
I'm
Xbox.
serious. I want to care about the Xbox. Like, I bought an Xbox One. It had Sunset Overdrive on it, and that was the only place you could play Sunset Overdrive. It had something.
Well, not
you know what I mean?
You play on PC now.
I know. I mean, here's the thing.
Now,
like right now, Robin was like, "Why didn't you get an Xbox?" And I was like, "Well, I have a
wait.
I have a PC, and that's fine."
Xbox to have exclusives.
Yeah, I would love for Xbox to have Scalebound.
I mean, I think if the box is going to exist, I feel like it should have something that makes it.
I don't want it.
Why didn't they call it the box?
The box.
That's such a better name than Xbox Series X.
It's so ominous.
You know what they should have called
the
it?
box?
They should have called it the box, motherfucker. The box,
the fucking box.
I don't think
I like all of
Grandma's
these
gonna
ideas.
buy the fucking box for little Timmy.
Okay,
hey,
the effing box.
You're right. She's just gonna buy an Xbox One X.
That brings up a really good name. I think the naming conventions for this for Microsoft's hardware, as impressive as the hardware is, I think the naming convention is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. Like that is so bad. So bad.
Yep. Designed by committee bullshit ever.
So one thing that I want to bring up, and it is a legitimate criticism, and I have not 100% confirmed it, but I'm fairly certain. I want to be able to use my own headphones on the PlayStation.
So the headphones that I usually wear well, this is probably not the same thing necessarily.
Wireless.
But yeah, the wireless Turtle Beach headset that I already have for PS4 is confirmed to work on PS5. I don't know if that's the same thing you're talking about.
I'm speaking about Bluetooth because I have a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and if you can read that logo on there, they're fucking Sony. Sony, you already got my fucking money. Let me use my goddamn headphones on your fucking system.
It's like how I would sell my firstborn child for a Switch with a Bluetooth built-in Bluetooth sensor in it.
Can you
like,
get
come
that
on.
adapter?
I did, and then I sent it back because there was the tiniest bit of latency on it, and it was I could not ignore it. Like I was playing Paper Mario on it, and every time he would use the hammer, it was like a fraction of a second off, but I couldn't unhear it.
No, I 100% agree with that. Like audio latency is.
And I tried two of them. I tried two different versions of it, and they both had the same problem. And I couldn't find another one where the reviews said it doesn't have that. So I was like, I guess this is just one of those situations where I'm going to have to wait until the inevitable Switch Pro, which will probably, I would assume, certainly hope, has Bluetooth in it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
I'm sure it will.
I feel like maybe.
What if it's not even a handheld?
I feel like Bluetooth should be just kind of a given on any of these pieces of hardware, right? I feel like that's just. I feel like that should be a bare minimum. If there's
one thing this PS4 can do,
PS5
could do, it would be, I would like it to play Monster Hunter Rise. That's my answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, my answer would be, going back to an old argument, full backwards compatibility.
Yeah. I mean, backwards compatibility is a big deal for sure.
I'd like that for Xbox as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a couple of original Xboxes that are on the fritz. It seems like the drives. But it sure would be nice to be able to pop that into a new Xbox and have it actually do something.
For sure. I think we have time for one more question, Nolan.
All righty, let's do one more question. The last question this week is going to come from.
These are both from people who have already asked a question tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Fuck them.
Or we could just save them for next week and say fuck it.
Based on these questions, I say let's save them.
Okay, we'll save them for next week.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and wrap this show up with the 4-player minute. Brad, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
My hype for this week is for Genshin Impact and Hades. I know I have a new PS5, but the games I were playing already were pretty good. So how about I keep doing that? I'm not gonna lie. Have you seen? I mean, the world of Genshin Impact is a really cool place to explore.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I don't know. So
Nick, I don't think you were here last week, and sorry to railroad your 4-player minute real quick, Brad. I think you had stepped away to like go use the bathroom or something, and or I don't remember if me and Brad were talking about Genshin, and I don't know if you've gotten to the southern area.
I haven't. No.
Dude, it fucking changes things. You get into these giant cities. Like, I know you've been to that one city. You get into cities that are like 3 times that large, and there's these really cool, like halfway there's this other kind of like almost like a fucking tree fort town. And like, dude, it gets fucking like it is. The areas in this game are better than Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
sure.
What's better? What city is better? Like Breath of the Wild,
You're
villages, and like has that one kind of bit. Like this has some really cool shit.
I just wish I could move more like Link, but yeah, little slow climb.
Yeah.
Sucks. I just wish I want Rafali's Gale. What was Rafali's Gale? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, to shoot yourself up and then glide.
I need that.
Dude, that would be fucking awesome.
Man, Breath of the Wild's so fucking good.
My sweat for this week is sort of the games that I'm about to start because they're all long, well, except Miles. I'm going to say it. My sweat is Demon Souls because I can't get rid of I can't kick the feeling, the truth that this is a game I've already played. And it's just not good. It looks nice, but new Souls game magic is not going to be there because once you play a Souls game and you really play a Souls game, you're never going to forget it. I mean, it's just sort of seared into your brain. And I already know. I mean, I know where little traps are. I know where ambushes are. And I know they didn't change that stuff. And it's like, it looks nice, but Demon Souls is still, it's not my favorite because it doesn't have the cool interconnected world like all the other Souls games, and it's
I think that's why I'm pretty hyped for this one because
if you've never played Demon Souls, this is like extraordinarily cool.
I'm excited,
but I have
maybe just save it for a rainy day when you have
there's no rainy days in my life. Come on, man.
I was more referring to save it for a time when you maybe you don't have as many things to play
in 15 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
those times don't exist, I guess.
In 15 years, when I have a rainy day, I'll play Final Fantasy 14 finally. My thank you for this week goes to Sony for making a quiet system. And
that's so good to hear. Oh my god.
Also, thank you for all the people who did the Xbox hoax and were putting vape juice into their Xboxes because that was pretty funny.
Did you tweet?
Did you see the official Xbox Twitter say, "I can't believe we have to say this, but don't put vape smoke into your fucking Xbox."
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And my fuck you for this week goes to Christmas and my wife a little bit because she's a Christmas fiend, and I've been telling her don't fucking do it. It is early November. Don't do it.
And she did it.
And oh my god, her and Henry just watched The Grinch today. I mean, all she's talking about are the new animated one. All she's talking about are what she's gonna buy. And she keeps asking me questions oh, should we get fucking Henry this? Should we? No, stop it. You can't do Christmas this early. It's wrong. It's evil. Stop it.
We're halfway through November.
No, we're not. Shut the fuck up.
It's practically Christmas.
It's the 12th.
How dare you?
It's not. It is early November.
Guys, I'm scared.
Wait, when are you supposed to do
You're not allowed
December
to listen
1st.
to Christmas music December 1st. I don't even like the day after Thanksgiving, but I'll let it slide, okay?
My next
You
door neighbor
literally
has all their Christmas decorations up
No.
already.
So we're
No.
supposed to be listening to Thanksgiving carols right now.
Yeah.
I don't
Do multiple people in my neighborhood
don't
already have
keep-
Christmas lights?
listen to
and
Radiohead, man. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just not Christmas music.
Hey, I like Radiohead.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean to sound like you shouldn't like Radiohead. Let me rephrase that. Listen to Hoobastank or something. I don't care.
Hey,
just
I
not,
like.
just not Christmas music. Anyways, fuck Christmas.
All right, cool. All right, Crispy, are you ready?
Sure. My Hoobastank. Yeah, did they have any sets that got canceled this year?
I don't.
My hype is for Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's, I think, going to be my next actual purchase. It's been a while since I've bought a new game and been like, I will play this game. But I think Yakuza is the next one.
That's the one.
And it looks awesome. My fuck you for this week goes to everybody who got PlayStation 5s. Fuck you. Fuck all of you. Because the only game I really want to play in that lineup right now that I feel like I have to play is Demon Souls, and I can't.
What about
Miles Morales?
Yeah, come
I
on.
tried to
Yeah,
get
I'm
for
sure
that.
it's gonna be fine. Like I think it's gonna be great, but it's like it's more Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was awesome. And I heard that like there isn't even that much in the way of like villains in this game. That's like really the only big banner villain you get is the Rhino, and he shows up in the beginning of the game, and then
I've heard
kind of
something
like
that I
around.
think was
And
I
he
heard
was in the
something
last
that I
one.
think was kind of a spoiler, and I hope it was true, but I also hope it wasn't because I don't really want it to be spoiled. You know, is that your head?
Why?
I
Because
think
it's
there's-
like a setup for another game or
No,
something that happens
no,
in this game.
But there's a villain that you can probably figure out if you're familiar, if you've watched anything, if you've. I don't want to. I feel like I've
Are
already
there
said
any
too much.
hints about? I mean,
It's the Green Goblin. We all know.
Can he go?
It
can he
has
go
to be.
or Venom? Can we go to Tokyo next
Oh
game,
my god,
please?
it's probably Venom.
How cool?
Oh,
How
no.
cool would that
God!
be?
No, it's something more specific to like Miles Morales.
Can we go to Tokyo next game?
Next Spider-Man game?
Yeah, I mean they
Huh?
can't do New York City. I mean, it's just a video. As a video game developer,
It's
It would be
every Spider-Man game
irresponsible-
ever made
Fucking-
practically has been New York City, and he's like, they
Dude,
can't do it again.
Tokyo
but
doesn't
you
have
know
as
what?
many tall buildings as you think.
name a fucking developer who's made
Do
3
Battle
Spider-Man
Planet
games
or
in a
something.
row. Name a
Yeah.
Spider-Man developer who's made 3 Spider-Man games in a row. This is a big studio now owned by Sony. As a video game developer, you cannot get away with releasing another video game with the same map. I don't care who you are.
I think you're probably right.
Have you heard of a game series called Yakuza?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good point. But
Touche.
but even in Yakuza 2, you were already in a different fucking map.
That's
You know,
true.
a different city. You know, in the new one, you're in another. I mean, most Yakuza games, you go to another city besides Kamurocho.
Yes, that is true.
But that is like the one example where they don't give a shit. But you know, they're lower budget
No, I understand. I
games.
understand.
My sweat is that so recently Overwatch has been pushing a lot of like balancing updates, and they finally got the game into the state that it's never been in the 6 years this game's existed, where it's just like great. Like everything's
Balanced?
great. Yeah, everything is great. And it's no longer like the rock, paper, scissors fight between ults. It's no longer like a game that's only about counter picking. Like skill and game sense are like a big part of the player like regiment now. And it's great. And then like 2 weeks after they get it into the state, they push another balancing patch that kind of like fucks it all up again, and everyone's like going crazy, like, no, oh my god, no, what are you doing? Put it back. And Blizzard, I guess, is like listening, and they're this week's experimental card for balance changes has some of those changes reverted, which is nice, but it's like I kind of just started playing Overwatch again because I've been hearing a lot of creators being like, oh my god, this is the game that I always wanted it to be. It's amazing. It's great. Like, it's finally in a state where it's ready for Overwatch 2 kind of thing. And they just kind of go and can't stop fucking with it. which sucks. And my other sweat is that I started playing Destiny 2 Beyond Light, the newest like yearly expansion for Destiny 2. It's cool, but like every time we go into these expansions, we have the sense of like, oh my god, this is the one that's finally gonna like fix all the problems and make this game. It's gonna take a good game and make it great, right? And that's kind of just not ever what happens. And especially ever since Bungie split with Activision, it's like their budgetary issues are kind of like more apparent now. And the new expansion's really cool. There's like a new power set. They added a whole new element to the game. It's fun, but it's not like this groundbreaking thing that I think a lot of people were hoping it would be. And that's so I've kind of been spending the week coming down from that high, and whatever. But is life. That's it. Also, thank you to whoever removed the 4-player minute timer. I see we only stuck with that for like that was 2 weeks.
We had a good thing. What happened, man?
I don't know.
Y'all started interrupting one another and taking longer than a minute.
No.
I also Maggie agrees. I couldn't tell if you wanted it or you didn't want it. We should ask the people. I don't know. I just want the show to be, a decent amount of time.
I think it was fine. I think the timer was fine.
All right, you want to throw a time? Can you throw the timer up for me? I'll do it.
Ready,
sure.
Go.
Give me just 1 second.
Well, I don't know if Nolan wants to do it, but
I'm fine with the timer.
Okay, but that 1 second has to come off of his minute.
Okay. You son of a bitch. All right, Nolan, you're on the clock.
1 second. He hasn't loaded yet. Hang on.
We're waiting for Chris Davis to give us the go-ahead. Y'all are witnessing the show changing shape in real time.
Fucking stopwatch.
Oh my God.
Progress.
Okay. Go.
My hype is for the PS5. Obviously, very excited to play all the games, the next gen, all that shit. My sweat is going to Hades. I was playing some yesterday, the day before. While I do enjoy that game, there's fucking so many other games out now, which kind of leads into my other fuck, which is every other fucking game that's out right now. Everything's fucking come out at once. There's 1,000 games I have to play. I fucking want to play them all, but I don't have time, including Hades. It's just there's no fucking time in the world. Which leads into my which is I'm thankful that Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed because I don't have to fucking worry about one more game to play that I know I'm going to spend a shit ton of time on. So yeah, that's my 4-player minute.
And the longer it takes for that game to come out, the longer we get to pretend like it's going to be great.
Oh, shots fired. All right. Are you ready for me, Chris Davis?
I mean, do you want me to do mine or do you want to?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you haven't done yours yet. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I will do a timer. My first hype this week is for Half-Life Alyx. Today, Valve pushed an update for their finally adding the commentary mode, which is literally you reach out in the world and you find sets of headphones and you put them over yourself. I love that. Cool. That's great. My second hype is for Phantom Brigade. That's coming out in early access next week. In case y'all forgot about it, that's the third-person mech tactics RPG game that got a lot of buzz a few years ago. Finally coming out in early access.
Early access, inspired by Front Mission.
Yeah, whatever. Third hype is for Demon Souls, and I want to play the prettiest launch game, and that happens to be Demon Souls. So I want to play that starting tomorrow. And my sweat/fuck you this week goes to Watch Dogs Legion. I started playing it, and I kind of want to put it down. But I found out that the invasion mode is not coming in the December update for multiplayer. It's coming sometime later. Like, the best part of that fucking game is being delayed by months.
I feel like
what the fuck are you thinking?
I'm starting to feel like I'm probably gonna end up putting that. I've played it for 16 hours now. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with it. I don't know, especially now that all this stuff is coming out. It's definitely gonna get pushed to the back burner for me, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for me? Now it's my turn.
And go.
All right. My first hype, I've been thinking a lot about Final Fantasy 16 lately. And I know I was kind of negative about that for a while. But the more I think about it and the more I watch that trailer again, I'm just like, it is very, it seems like a more serious, more grounded take on it, and I welcome that. I'm getting pretty excited. My second hype is, of course, PS5. My console's arriving tomorrow. I have the next 3 weekends are going to be long weekends for me, so I'm going to dive into all of these games headlong. I'm pretty excited for all of them. It's a great launch lineup. My fuck you goes to that stupid stairwell in Castlevania Symphony of the Night that people had to watch me go up and down about 1,000 times on the stream the other night, which was apparently the same stairwell that Crispy had some trouble on. So
the stairwell!
that makes me feel a little bit better. And my third, I'll do another hype. We had kind of like a home theater system kind of installed today, our projector and whatnot, and we're gonna break it in tomorrow with a movie, a double feature, and
of what?
Guess. I'll
2
give you
episodes of Supernatural.
I'll give you 2
Are they
guesses.
both movies?
2 episodes of
They're
Dexter.
They're both movies. They're both movies. It's a movie and its sequel.
Jurassic World and Jurassic World
No.
Fallen Kingdom.
No, it's a movie I've seen about 1,000 times in the past 3 years.
Oh.
Come on, guys. Come
The
on.
Mummy 2.
It's the Mummy. We're gonna
Oh. There's more than 2 movies in the Mummy series. Though.
not if you ask Robin.
Well, that's why I was only thinking of movies that had two movies.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get her to watch the Tom Cruise one with
misleading.
me, and she won't do it. But I'm pretty excited to watch. I've been kind of putting off watching movies because I knew that we were going to have this stuff installed. I've been kind of waiting. So now I'm probably going to end up watching a bunch of movies in the next. I might watch that movie that Brad recommended, This House.
Oh yeah,
We'll see how that goes.
Whose house?
his house.
Run's house.
His house.
Hey, Crispy.
Oh man, I hate to do this, but I saw someone bring it up in Discord, and it was kind of a good point. And I don't mean to push this on you, but I am curious: are you going to play the more Tales from the Borderlands?
Yes, I am.
What do you mean
I am.
more? You
It's
stopped?
just no. I mean, I played the first episode. I loved it. I want to keep going, but guys, it's fucking November and all these things it's raining video games. You know what I mean?
How does Robin feel about that? Like playing more?
I don't know.
Who cares?
I mean, wait, you mean playing more Tales from the Borderlands?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she's really. I don't know.
Okay, but how does Maggie feel about
You know how Maggie feels.
The worst episode, in my opinion.
Which one?
It is the
Which
worst.
one?
I mean,
Tales from the Borderlands.
better. They get better. Yeah.
It's nothing but better.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I love the first episode. So
And the intro.
If you love the first episode, like it's nothing but fucking golden.
I can't wait. I'll try and make some more time for it for the end of the year. We're just in the middle. We're just in the middle of this release season, and there's like 1,000. I played 6 hours of Hades today, or maybe probably like 4.5, 5 hours. But I played a bunch of Hades today, and I got 2 Hades.
Yeah.
That's a start.
And don't forget, Nick takes forever to do episodic games, so
I
it might
do.
be next year before he actually.
Although
gets
The
to-
Walking Dead, I played the entire Walking Dead series, season 1 to the end, plus the DLC in like a month at the beginning of this year. So it's not always true. But anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a wrap on this episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. 4playernetwork.com is the website. You can find all of our episodes there. You can find us streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/4playerpodcast or 4pp.tv for short. Discord, we'd love to have you in Discord, discord.gg/4player. And of course, if you want to support us financially, check us out at patreon.com/4player. We will be back next week. We'll be talking about what I'm sure will be a bunch of PlayStation 5 launch titles. So join us for that. But in the meantime, stay safe, wash your hands,
watch
wear a
the
mask.
Cyberpunk video.
Watch the Cyberpunk video. It comes out tomorrow. And we'll see you guys later. Good night.